Hello and welcome to the JB&M Sports Fanatic channel. Appreciate you guys so much for coming through as we have this game here, this preseason game, last preseason matchup for both of these teams, week 3. We're getting that much closer to the regular season, guys. And yeah, this is the game that we're going to be able to showcase today, and I'm excited for it as it's going to be a very good one. So certainly looking forward to seeing this game. But you're going to take this time to thank everybody for joining the stream as we've got the Packers and Bills here about to kick off any minute now. And yes, we're going to actually get to see Josh Allen for the first time this preseason game. And obviously, with it just being 3 weeks of preseason teams, some teams opted to play more of their starters in week 2. Others are going to be playing more of their starters here in week 3. And so this is definitely going to be a good one here as we finish out the preseason and get ready for the regular season to come very soon, guys. We're almost there. Carmichael, thank you so much for joining the stream. How's it going? I hope everything is going great. How's your recovery going from your injuries? And yes, this is going to be the beginning of what's going to be a very important day in terms of preseason football across the league here. We're looking at both Buffalo and Green Bay. Both of these teams had really successful years this past season. They have high expectations for this year. Obviously, for Green Bay, it was huge to have Aaron Rodgers come back. But Jordan Love, he's gotten some valuable snaps throughout the offseason, and that's going to be pivotal for him moving forward. So really looking forward to that. Meanwhile, for the Buffalo Bills, you've got Josh Allen, coming back with them after the season he had last year, the connection between him, Stephon Diggs. That was really big. So really looking forward to this game right here, and I really cannot wait to the regular season. And my man Azashak says Illinois is about to start playing in college football. Yeah, absolutely, man. I really part of me really wanted to stream that game because me being a Big Ten guy, really want to stream that game. But we'll definitely have a lot of opportunities for a lot of Big Ten games. And I really want to focus on a lot of the major conferences, Big Ten, obviously SEC, ACC, and Pac-12, streaming games like that. But yeah, that Illinois-Nebraska game, that was one that I did want to stream, but I opted to go with the Bills and Packers preseason game here. But yeah, definitely going to be keeping my eye on the scoreboard, though. That is for sure. Let's see. Carmichael says going great. Monday, you're going back to practice. Oh, that's wonderful. Glad to hear it. I know you said both your knees were injured, so I'm glad to hear that it's that you'll be able to return Monday. So I'm still hoping that that recovery continues to go great, but that is great news right there. Everything is going absolutely great. I mean, shoot, we've got the final week of preseason, a lot of trades and stuff going down. Shoot, my channel surpassed 700 subscribers, so really thankful for each and every one of you for the support as my channel is continuing to grow, and just a lot of great things right now, honestly. I mean, college football is back. I know my favorite team, Ohio State, they're going to play Thursday, so your boy's going to be looking forward to streaming that. So we're going to start seeing some college football streams as well coming up. So that means, hey, next week's going to be a busy week. After that's going to be even busier with the regular season coming in. We all know about the kickoff between the Cowboys and Buccaneers. Best believe I'm going to be streaming that game as well. But yeah, if there's a primetime game on, you best believe that you're going to be able to find it here for most likely when it comes to the streams. But it's a good time right now, guys. Good times right now. Great times. Mike says, if I ever wanted to join the Mafia, I would need to be initiated Bills Mafia. Hey, Bills Mafia, hey, I have a lot of respect for that fan base. I really do. I mean, I absolutely do. And so if there's a team to ever root for in the AFC East outside of my Patriots, you best believe the Bills are next in line in terms of just rooting for their success, because I feel like the Bills fans, they definitely deserve it. That is for sure. And well, both of these teams, the Packers and the Bills, their fan bases have to be excited about this upcoming season. We know what they did last year, and these teams are in position to do even better, especially Buffalo. I do feel that Buffalo did get better than what they were last year, and last year they were already great. So that just bodes well. You're going to have the chemistry now. They added, Emmanuel Sanders, and then drafting those defensive ends. That's going to be really good right there. So if Josh Allen can pick up where he was last year, him and Stephon Diggs, that's going to be really important right there. Team chemistry is already there. And so, hey, this is looking really good, really good. Barring injuries, the Bills should be a really good team again. Let's see. Adjashak says that we normally aren't too good, but you're excited to see Chase Brown play. He's probably your favorite player on the roster this year. And what year is Chase Brown in this year, by the way? Meanwhile, we have that first pass there by Buffalo, and that is Josh Allen, and that is Devin Singletary with the catch. They're going to need a big year from Devin Singletary as well this upcoming season. The combination of him and Zach Moss, that's going to be very critical for the Buffalo Bills this upcoming season, and trying to get more out of the running game to just add that, more of that balance really for the offense. So maybe Josh Allen wouldn't have to do so much running. Let's see, Mike says, would you be willing to do a pass through? You must be thrown through and survive a table by. You know what, Mike? My biggest concern is the moment that they sense that I'm a Pats fan. I think that this ritual is going to become a lot more brutal than it needs to be. Honestly, like you guys might stack table on top of the table. Let's see. Meanwhile, Josh Allen, he's throwing. Look at that pass, just like that. Right on the money. And as for the Packers, definitely we're going to want to see how that starting defensive backfield is going to look, because last year when they matched up against – because when you look at a team like Green Bay, obviously you want to see how do you compare against playoff caliber teams. And the teams that have great offenses, particularly great wide receivers, how does Green Bay match up against them? And are they going to be able to generate enough pass rush? This defense is really going to be one to monitor for Green Bay. Let's see. This will be his fourth season. Okay, so he's been there since 2018, 2019. Man, these years are going by fast, man. 2018, 2019. But yeah, okay, yeah. I definitely am going to be continuing to check in on that game, guys. But yeah, it's looking like probably most likely the first game that I'm going to be streaming for college football will probably be Minnesota versus Ohio State. I believe that's September the 2nd, if I'm not mistaken. So that's going to be one that I'm looking forward to. So definitely do mark that on your calendars. But I will make like the stream come up, I believe, like probably a couple hours before the game, just to make sure, because I do got to visit the eye doctor that day. So I got to be able to make sure that I can read the TV screen or my computer screen, I should say, in order to stream that game. But I definitely want to stream that game as well as some of the other ones. Like I said, I did want to stream that Illinois-Nebraska game, but it just, I had to make sure I get these last preseason games in first. Let's see. Mike says that he keeps hoping. I see something on the waiver wires that could help us. You're hearing that Warren G kid and Wild Goose may not be the solution. Yeah, definitely, especially, this time of the year. I was very shocked when I saw, a guy like Sean Wade being traded to the Patriots and the Ravens. They have a very good depth chart in terms of defensive backs. But when I saw Sean Wade was traded to the Pats, I was like, what? We're getting a guy with a high ceiling that's going to be able to come in and produce, at a high level, especially in the future. But even this year, because who knows, what's going to take place with the whole Gilmore situation. I mean, he's listed on physically unable to perform. But I wonder how much of that is actually accurate, but that's certainly something to keep an eye out for. But yeah, I've got a feeling, guys, that after this first drive, we may not see no more of Josh Allen, because he's just going out there and he's just lighting them up out there, honestly. Let's see. As Chuck says, I saw you got 700 subs. You're growing really fast. Last stream, you had 600 something subs. Yeah, I know, right? It was very crazy. Like, I checked my analytics and I grew by like 233 subs over the span of the last 28 days when I checked it yesterday. So, to talk about a massive growth, and I'm very thankful for that. Very thankful for that. If we can see that growth continue, that'll just be absolutely great for the channel. Absolutely. But appreciate that right there. And yeah, that growth is happening really fast. Let's see. Did I watch the Panthers game? It was a banger. Darnold to yeah, Darnold to Arnold connection. That Arnold. That's gonna be one to get used to saying right there. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. I did watch a little bit of that one though. I did watch a little bit of that one. And so yeah, because the Panthers are certainly one of the teams that I am very intrigued with. Just how they're going to do this upcoming year, and just I like some of the pieces that they got in place. Not saying the expectations of playoffs or anything like that, but I think that they can be a lot better than a lot of people probably are projecting for the Carolina Panthers this upcoming season. So it's going to be a fun one, guys. I mean, here we are, week 3. And so I know for some teams, week 3 means, play your starters, like this is the first time we're getting to look at Josh Allen this year. So, I mean, there's no rest to knock off whatsoever, but he's just picking up right where he left off at, guys. And I'm telling you, I know that this is also going to be very important because a lot of guys, before the regular season, in between now and the regular season, there's going to be a lot of fantasy drafts taking place. So, obviously a guy like Josh Allen is certainly someone that can help your fantasy team without doubt. Him, Diggs, that combination there. But you may be more interested in, later in the rounds, especially if you're like myself and you're in a league that has a lot of teams, guys like Devin Singletary, how much carries can you expect from him? Will you see similar production to last year? Will it be better? Will it be closer to his rookie year? Stuff like that, So, yeah, fantasy football drafts coming up. Those who haven't had their drafts yet, that's definitely more reason to stay tuned for the preseason. I know a lot of teams are just now telling us who their starting quarterbacks are going to be. Teddy Bridgewater winning that job down there with the Broncos. I mean, I was a little surprised. I get the reasoning behind it, honestly, when it comes to Teddy Bridgewater getting the start for the Broncos. I think that's the safe choice. So definitely that makes it smart. But I just felt like, maybe Drew Lock, he seemed like he was playing a little bit better than what we saw last year. So, I mean, if it was playing his best football, probably, give him a chance. But I'm sure if he stays ready, he might get an opportunity at some point this upcoming season. Let's see. Mike says the Panthers could move up to be respectable. The O-line is suspect. Darnold, hey, I tell you what, the offensive line is going to be critical. If the offensive line can just be at least average for the Carolina and Christian McCaffrey can stay healthy. Meanwhile, touchdown Josh Allen to Davis. I mean, my goodness, Josh Allen. I mean, did he really need to even play in this game, guys? I mean, he's already in regular season form. There's no need to play him anymore. We've definitely seen more than enough. He's definitely out there hitting strides. But I believe in Sam. I believe Sam Darnold could still be a good quarterback in this league. Do I think he can be elite in this league? Probably most likely not, but he can still be a good quarterback that gets better as he ages and he, starts to read defenses better. Because, I mean, the first couple years, I mean, that was just brutal getting knocked around like that for the Jets. So that was just brutal. Absolutely. Brady, thank you so much for joining the stream. Glad to have you on, man. It's always good to see you. Glad to have you here, man. And yeah, just tuning in and seeing Josh Allen go out there for the first time this preseason and making it do what it do out there. I mean, he's threw that touchdown. He's been spot on this entire drive, really. And so we've seen enough from there. It's time to put Mitchell Trubisky in and get him some more snaps there at that backup spot. But yeah, what a nice touchdown pass he threw there. And yeah, good stuff for Buffalo, honestly. But I cannot wait for the regular season, guys. Like the regular season, there's so many games coming up that's going to be fun to watch. Not only that, guys, but college football. I know this is technically week 0 in college football. But yeah, I know Illinois and Nebraska, they should be kicking off in a couple minutes as well. A lot of great things going on. Let's see. Mike says that Josh Allen throws touchdowns. What he does, maybe the best quarterback in the league is him, Mahomes. When it comes to the best quarterback in the league right now, I'm still going to rock with Mahomes. A lot of that does have to do when you're throwing to Travis Kelce and you're throwing to Tyreek Hill. But both quarterbacks have tremendous arms. They both can, escape out the play. But we've seen Mahomes do it, for a little bit longer than we've seen Josh Allen. So you got to give the edge to Mahomes there. Plus, Mahomes has that Super Bowl. But Josh Allen, he's definitely up there when it comes to best quarterbacks in the league. Especially, Buffalo paid him that money for a reason. I mean, there's no doubts when it comes to Josh Allen in his game whatsoever. If you've got Josh Allen, especially down there in Buffalo, when you know how the wind can get crazy and the weather can be crazy. So, yeah, definitely – he's definitely up there, 1A and 1B. You might as well say it, 1A and 1B. Let's see. Abstract says, it's crazy how much better Illinois' college basketball team is compared to their football team. Hey, I love watching me some Illinois college basketball. I'm definitely going to be streaming. Like, I know I've been doing maybe one stream a day for their preseason games and stuff, but I'm going to try to do a lot more when it comes to the regular season, especially football, basketball. But, hey, you mentioned college football, college basketball. When it comes to college basketball, when we have those like ACC versus Big Ten tournaments and stuff like that, or either conference tournaments, I'll definitely be trying to stream a whole bunch of those games as well when it's that time. But, yeah, it is crazy the difference, especially since Illinois, they had Lovie Smith. I thought Lovie Smith would have done a way better job than what he did up until they let him go, obviously, for this season, which they needed to do. But, yeah, I was very surprised that he wasn't able to recruit better and help get this program in a better situation than what they were, before he got there. I feel like they got worse up under him, and that was very surprising. Let's see. Brady says, can't wait. You're a Patriots fan. Same here. And as for the Patriots game tomorrow, I do plan on streaming I forget which game comes on first. I normally cover the first game that goes. But tomorrow, with it being the last preseason game, there's a chance that I may go ahead and try to stream that one as well. Because tomorrow I know it's going to be a pretty busy day, but I plan on streaming that one as well. But it'll be a decision that I'll make immediately after that first stream. If I have the energy, then I plan on streaming that game as well. It just matter of fact, let me check and see. Because I need to make sure that I'll be able to see that on my TV, by the way, in order for me to stream that game. So let me check real quick and see if that's even a possibility. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, that's going to be on NFL Network. Okay, so that's a game that I could definitely see myself streaming. So most likely I'll be streaming that game, but we'll know for sure after the first game concludes tomorrow. Let's see. By the way, Jordan Love. Let's see. Who's carrying the ball? Is that A.J. Dillon? I mean, you talk about running backs that I am extremely high upon that haven't necessarily shown their potential yet. A.J. Dillon is a running back that I am really looking forward to seeing his future, even this year. I know now that obviously they still have their, returning running back from last year, but they did lose the backup who went to Detroit. Can't think of his name right now. Obviously, Aaron Jones is starting running back, but in terms of who they had that went to Detroit, I forget his name. But yeah, so A.J. Dillon's going to have a role here in Green Bay, and he's going to be very pivotal. As the season goes on, he's going to be someone that if you're in fantasy football and you're in one of those deeper leagues and stuff, I'm talking about 12-plus teams, then that's someone that you're definitely going to want to make sure that you have, because I feel like he's going to be someone at the goal line late in the year. They're going to hand the ball to A.J. Dillon. And I think he's going to have a pretty good year in terms of the amount of touchdowns that he's going to have rushing, because he's just a very powerful running back, and I really like that. But in terms of let's see what Mike says. He said you still have the Chiefs as the number one in your power ranks. The defense is weaker, but Mahomes is lights out. Oh, yeah, the chemistry that they have, from the coaching staff to the chemistry. Kansas City, in my opinion, they definitely have to be, at least in the AFC, number one. Now, I will give Tampa the edge due to, obviously, there's a lot that they have as well. So I would put Tampa 1, Kansas City 2 to start off the season. But there's some teams out there that I feel match up particularly good against each of these teams. I can give them a run for their money. And so, especially if you look in the AFC, I mean, who better than, the Bills? They match up very well against the Chiefs. The Browns, they match up very well against the Chiefs, So, but to start off the season, you definitely can't go wrong with that. Old Man Mob, thank you so much for joining the stream. Glad to have you here. Yeah, and so you're rooting for the Packers in this one. Yeah, matter of fact, let me take a survey from everyone and see who's rooting for who. Who's rooting for the Bills in this one, and who's rooting for the Packers. I mean, being able to see Jordan Love, he got a lot of snaps this offseason, a lot more probably than Green Bay would have wanted him to. But in the end, I think that's just going to make him a better quarterback. I know he did work out with Deshaun Watson and Justin Fields over the offseason as well. So he's doing everything within his power to make sure that he's ready when his numbers call. And the fact that Aaron Rodgers is coming back for another year, I think that bodes really well for Jordan Love. That's one more year to learn, and he has to know he's got to be ready because next year is basically going to be his year. You might as well say it. So he's got to be ready, and he's approaching it the way that you would if you anticipate that you're going to start soon, because he has to be ready at any given moment, for his opportunity. And so definitely this is going to be fun to watch him in this game. And then once the regular season starts, we'll see how Green Bay looks. I know Green Bay, in terms of like key free agents and stuff, like I know they didn't do too much in free agency in terms of, bringing in guys, but with guys like obviously A.J. Dillon, that I think is going to take a big leap. That's going to be big right there. Let's see. Mike says, start the man. You said you start the man on Cam to see how the year goes. If it goes bad, then put in Mac. I agree with that. I feel like you sort of have to because, one, you don't want to put Mac Jones in a situation too early to where, if you come out slow or something like that, where there's a lot of pressure and stuff. You started off with Cam. You bring Mac along slowly throughout the season. Obviously, he's going to have to be ready because in a moment's notice, you can put him in. But put Cam out there, and then, if Cam starts to struggle, then you go ahead and make that switch. It's just that simple. And if Cam doesn't struggle or however long he can hold off Mac Jones, then that's great, But that's the route that I would take as well when it comes to that. And then just imagine at the goal line, you've got Cam, you've got Damian Harris. Then you can also put, Stevenson in the backfield as well. You imagine those three, the defense is having to decide who they're going to go after. Then you have the two tight ends and stuff. And so, because that's one thing that we haven't been able to see, in the regular season with Cam. If you give him some decent tight ends, we know in Carolina when he had, Greg Olsen, he was able to utilize the tight end. New England didn't have a tight end. I keep saying it. They didn't have a tight end last year. So now that they have two tight ends, that's going to be fun to see. Let's see. Adashak says that I'm excited to see Kerberlo play this year for Illinois. I hope he plays like he did last year. We're really going to miss Ao. Yeah, he was something special for sure. But you know how that works in college sports. You know how that works. But yeah, definitely, it's going to be looking forward to seeing how this year plays out. Absolutely. Let's see. Brady says, "Oh, nice. You're a Patriots fan too, and okay, sounds like a plan." Yeah, absolutely. I'm always one to talk about, my story with the Patriots, But on this channel, I really love talking, about just any team. Really, we could talk any team, honestly. And so I enjoy, football that much to where we can talk any team. But ultimately, I'm a Patriots fan, and you guys will see during the regular season, especially as the year goes on and stuff, then yeah, you'll see that Patriots fan just screaming and stuff. But yeah, it's going to be a great year, guys. A great year. Let's see. Mike says Packers dropped a few spots out of number 4 in power ranking. They are strained and tired. Defense falling. Yeah. When it comes to the Packers, yeah, I really feel that they really have dropped, but they still should win the division. And that just a lot goes into that when it comes to obviously Matt Nagy with the Bears starting Andy Dalton. I think that's going to hurt more than help, especially when you're talking about matching up, particularly against the Green Bay Packers when they're playing each other. I don't want to go into that battle knowing that Andy Dalton is my quarterback. Not right now. Maybe years ago in Cincinnati, if they got that version of him, yes, But at the same time, Matt Nagy's got to be smart about this. I know you want to play Andy Dalton and stuff for the reason that he's a veteran and Matt Nagy loves veterans. But, if Justin Fields is at least equal to or possibly better, you got to make that switch because he adds another dimension that could really help this Bears offense out. But we'll have to see how Andy Dalton does with that. And as for the Vikings, Kirk Cousins, there seems to be a lot going on down there in Minnesota, to be honest. So Green Bay should still be the favorites there, but hey, they're going to have two teams that's in that division that's going to give them a run for their money. And, most teams have gotten better. I'm not so sure I can say that about Green Bay. They're still good. I feel like they're about maybe the same. But yeah, in terms of getting better, yeah. Let's see. Old man says, still can't believe I called Sony to the Rams a month or so ago. There you have it. Old man Mob, he's coming through with these predictions and stuff. I'm telling you. I mean, if you can give us where N'Keal Harry's going to end up at, that'd be nice to know. Or tell us if Gilmore's going to stay with the Pats as well. Stuff like that. But yeah, Sony to the Rams, it just made too much sense at that point. Honestly, given all the injuries that they had, it's just, hey, the Rams, they're seeing that running back room right now. It's looking awfully light. So Sony Michel, he's going to have his opportunities. Meanwhile, you see A.J. Dillon, trying to fight there. And this is what I think you're going to see in the regular season as well. It makes sense. Like every time I see this kid carry the ball, I mean, he's definitely runs with some power. He's that big frame type of running back. And so he's just perfect for the goal line and short yardage situations, especially late in the game as well when the defense is tired. So there you go. Let's see. Mike says Pat's transactions over the week. Can we get a recap? Yeah, well, ultimately, it starts with that Sean Wade move when it came to acquiring him from the Baltimore Ravens. That was that one right there was a really nice move because, one, it gave the Patriots the assurance that they need for the future at the cornerback position because Gilmore, there's a possibility this could be his last year, and who knows what's going to go on with his situation. We know one thing, and that's Gilmore likes his money. That's about all that we know. And then J.C. Jackson, he's going to want to get paid too. The man, he gets interceptions like crazy, so he's going to want to get paid as well. So this gives us another cornerback that we can keep that we won't have to worry about paying for a minute. And yeah, he's definitely has a high ceiling. I know that everybody probably remembers the championship game trying to guard Devontae Adams. That was not pretty. And that's ultimately the reason why I think he dropped to the 5th round as opposed to maybe being selected in the 3rd round or something like that. But yeah, he's definitely going to show his worth. Meanwhile, Jordan Love, incomplete. Tried to squeeze that one through a small window, but it did not work out. And so Buffalo defense making a stand there. What a play. Yeah, and other than that, I know that the Patriots, they waived, I forget that tight end's name, but it was a tight end that they had picked up that was wanted by other teams. Like I think the Saints were another interested team, and there was one more, but they ended up picking him up just to waive him. So we're seeing musical chairs happen at the bottom of the depth chart for the New England Patriots in terms of their tight ends, coming and going, all of that stuff. But there you go. Just a couple of things off the top of my head. Let's see. Check says that him and DeMonte Williams need to step up this year without AL. Hey, you're right about that, but hey, it gives an opportunity for guys to step up, and you just never know. I mean, you lose one great guy, and then all of a sudden you develop a couple more. So sometimes, throughout the whole offseason, guys get bigger, stronger, especially at that level, so the improvement is drastic, So, but hey, I want to hear from you guys, though, in terms of what matchup do you guys look forward to the most for next week's college football, where a lot of the teams are going to be, actually playing their first games. And technically, I guess you could say week 1 of college football. I know that there's going to be UGA versus Clemson. That's going to be one matchup to certainly look forward to. But there's a lot of matchups out there, Alabama versus University of Miami. Will University of Miami be able to, make it close or even an upset or anything like that, So definitely let me know what you guys are thinking about, the college football season as well. Let's see. How good are the Green Bay Packers? I think the Green Bay Packers, personally, just looking at what they did, obviously, I think that the fact that Aaron Rodgers took so long to commit to Green Bay hurt Green Bay in terms of being able to bring in any large free agents and stuff like that. Matter of fact, it might have scared off some people from coming to Green Bay that really could have helped them. Now, obviously, when you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers, you still got, Devontae Adams and stuff at wide receiver. And so when you have those two, you're going to be good. But just how great are they? They're good enough to make the playoffs. They're good enough to win a division. They're good enough to get to the divisional round this year. But I think that's where it's probably going to stop. If I had to forecast Green Bay right now, I don't think that they would get past the second round of the playoffs. And that's just due to, one, there's a lot of questions, probably on that defensive side of the ball. But really, every team, your objective is to get better. I don't think when I look at Green Bay that compared to where they were last year, I don't think that they went out there and got better. And then it's really hard for, Green Bay to just go out there and continue to have that chemistry that they had last year. That's going to be a lot to ask of what, we saw from Aaron Rodgers. That was very good. If you guys remember the years before that, there was a lot of people talking, about Aaron Rodgers. That's why they brought in Jordan Rodgers here, guys. Jordan Love to bring him in, for the future because they thought Aaron Rodgers was done. Now, obviously, he's far from it, but yeah, I feel like you got to be a little bit more committed in order to take that next leap, So, and there's a lot of good teams. There's going to be some tough matchups in that NFC. But there you have it. So that's about where I have them at right now. They're still one of the top teams in the NFC, though. Don't make that mistake. They're definitely one of the top teams in the NFC. But yeah. Let's see. Brady says that I know Cam will start because Bill keeps saying Cam is our quarterback. That is true. And paid him much more than last year. So it says Bill believes. And Cam, if he struggles, he'll probably put Mac in. Absolutely. Bill does have confidence in Cam because Bill likes the way that Cam approaches practice and how he's always bringing high energy. Bill Belichick loves the energy that he brings. And then Bill Belichick, he's not going to listen to what, like the experts and stuff are saying about Cam and stuff. Bill Belichick knows what's going on with the Patriots roster, what was the problem last year. He saw Cam before COVID. He obviously saw a different version of Cam. Now, sure, they drafted a quarterback, but I don't think that Bill Belichick went into the draft thinking, okay, we're definitely going to take a quarterback. I think that he knew that if it fell to them, that's exactly what happened when Mac Jones fell to them, that sure, he'll take Mac Jones, but they clearly was not going to trade up for a quarterback in the draft. They were just going to let the quarterback come to them, and that's what happened. So, but Bill loves competition. He'll definitely do what's best for the football team, and right now he feels that Cam is what's best for the football team. And when he feels Mac Jones is that guy, then he'll make that switch. Let's see. Mike says, sorry, Bucks still number one power rank, but Chiefs number two. Buccaneers are an entirely different league. That's right. Bernard is a running back that can help them get tough yards, third downs. Hey, if you look at the Buccaneers, yeah, especially on paper for sure, and even just what they did last year, they are definitely just as good as they, were when they won the championship. All that stuff, a couple of things that has to go right. One, they got to stay healthy because injuries can derail a team season, and we know throughout the course of a season that stuff can certainly add up. Two, Tom Brady's got to continue to win that battle against Father Time. And yes, we know that he seems to always win that battle, but you never know what year is the year. Any type of droppage or something like that. I know last year him playing through that injury and us finding out after the season, and then him trying to address that injury, how is that going to come into play? But yeah, Tampa Bay is absolutely the number one team, and I certainly understand that, and they should be. They're going to be the favorites, I believe, in every game that they play, with the exception of, well, I know at the time they said the exception of the Rams game, but with all the injuries the Rams have, they probably should still be the favorites in that game as well. So they're going to be the favorites in every game that they play. But, I mean, that's what we love about football. Upsets can happen. All it takes is to go out there and have a bad day all around and then have it at the worst time. And then, hey, next thing you know, you're getting put out. Because unlike last year, they're going to have a target on their shoulder. When the Saints swept them in the regular season last year, that took that target off of Tampa Bay. When the Bears beat the Buccaneers last year, that made it even further look like, oh, man, this team's barely getting into the playoffs. When the Giants almost beat Tampa last year, there's a lot of questions. Now, sure, Tampa Bay, they got hot last year. They did get hot at the right time. So for them to be able to pick it up where they left off at, that's going to be important. But, yeah, they've definitely got a lot of things going for them right now. Let's see. Mike says, great steal. Tyron at the edge. Absolutely. Oh, who are the Patriots running backs? Okay, so yeah, Damian Harris is going to be the lead running back. That is for sure. And obviously they still got James White when it comes to him catching out the backfield and then just his veteran presence on third downs and stuff. You still have James White, which will always make the backfield just seem that much more great. Meanwhile, Buffalo, I see they still got Josh Allen out there at quarterback. But yeah, so and then when you're looking at the other running backs that they have, there's still J.J. Taylor and what he can do, and which I love watching J.J. run. I mean, he's an absolutely fantastic running back. I love, his agility, the way he makes guys miss in open space, all that great stuff. And then there's, Stevenson at running back. He's a rookie, but believe me when I say that his potential is extremely big. He really does remind me of Steven Jackson in his early years in the league. And so he definitely has that type of potential for the Pats. So, yeah, they have a lot of running backs still on the roster right now that can very well go in there and produce at a very high level. But those are the four that you're definitely going to want to keep an eye out for. Let's see. Mike says, please keep an eye out for Marquise Stevenson, my man, and Hollister. I know Hollister is certainly someone that Bills fans definitely have high hopes for. The Bills need some help too. At tight end, and they got only Trey at cornerback, but pass rushers should be better. And hey, what helps a secondary, especially when your number 2 corner isn't all that great, it's definitely a pass rush. And so Buffalo made some great draft picks, and from what I'm hearing in camp, it seems like those draft picks are really going to have a huge role this upcoming season, and that just bodes well for Buffalo, especially since many of those games Buffalo's going to have the lead regardless in the game, So definitely it's going to be an opportunity for those guys to get after the quarterback, go after it, and, that's going to be really fun right there. Ramondre Stevenson, he's a really underrated player. Hope he makes he's definitely making the roster there. Definitely. He reminds me of Ray McLeod. And so, I'm sorry, we're talking about Keith Stevenson here. But definitely. Hey, Buffalo has an eye for talent. I think that he'll make the roster personally. Let's see. Mike says, Jay Hudgens or Addison, the sophomore, AJ. I'm not going to mess that one up. And then their first round. And then one of them needs to get some pass rush on Mahomes. Why not all of them? Right? It's going to take a team effort because we know how good Mahomes is at making guys miss. And then not only that, he throws those crazy passes, that makes you – it's almost video game-like when he does that stuff, So it's going to take a team effort to get after him. But one thing I will say is that if we're talking later in the year, there's a lot of factors that come into play as well, such as obviously the weather can be a huge factor, especially if Buffalo could find a way to have a better record than Kansas City throughout the regular season and force it to be down there in Buffalo, where it's not just the fans, but it's also that crazy wind and stuff playing a role. It's hard to throw crazy passes if the ball gets caught in the air, and so then it's going to come down to which team is best equipped to run the ball in that scenario, or obviously both quarterbacks got strong arms, so they can still throw a lot of those passes in that type of scenario. But it's all about situational football, and that's what you love so much about the NFL. Mike says Ray looked rough for the Steelers. He says Green Bay got better at safety. And so, that's going to be very important. It's going to be very important right now for Green Bay is that, if they can get hot like they did last year, because I honestly, if you look back at some of the first couple of videos that I did, I had Green Bay going to the Super Bowl. Like I'm talking about when we were doing right when this playoffs got started, I had Green Bay matching up against Kansas City. That was what I projected to be the Super Bowl projection last year. And then once we got to Green Bay versus Tampa Bay, at the last minute on my last video, I ended up swapping and having Tampa Bay beat Green Bay because I saw Tampa Bay was playing their best football at the right time. And that's something that Brady understands throughout his time with the Patriots, that it's not just about, getting hot. It's about getting hot at the right moment, because the team that gets hot at the right moment, that's the team that's going to win the Super Bowl. It's not always who's the best team, but who's the team that's playing the hottest football at the right moment. Let's see. Mike says, first controversial take, 49ers would be a disappointment and probably the best division as you taught. Hey, the 49ers, I feel like the 49ers, they're going to be pretty good this year, but hey, definitely that room for disappointment is there because there's just so many good teams, so many great teams that are in that division. So certainly if they go with Jimmy and he goes out there and starts struggling, then some injuries start kicking in and stuff, that's very well a possibility. Anytime you're in a division that's as good as that, it's a real possibility. And it's going to be really hard for all 4 teams to go out there and have a winning record. It's very possible, but it's going to be extremely hard. So someone's going to have to take an L this season. So we'll see if the 49ers are that team. We shall see. Let's see. Mike says Bill should have given Gilmore the money. You know, Gilmore loves money. I mean, Money Gilmore. He is all about the money. I mean, it's in his name. You know, Gilmore, give more. You know, he wants more money. That is for sure. Let's see. Old Man Mob says that Nikhil is going to go to the Bears. He said that's the best spot for him. A-Rob might not be there next year, and Nikhil is a couple level below version of A-Rob. And so I know we talked about this before on a couple of my, videos and stuff in terms of N'Keal Harry being a great fit for the Bears. So I do agree with that. I think the Bears would be the top fit. If not the Bears, maybe a team like Houston might look into it as well. I'm always going to throw Detroit out there because I'm still trying to figure out what Detroit's got going on at wide receiver right now. Haven't been able to watch too many of their preseason games, so maybe you guys can tell me who's been shining so far in the preseason at wide receiver. But those are the 3 teams that come to mind when I think of N'Keal Harry. But obviously with N'Keal being injured for as long as he is, that's going to hurt, any type of trade talk and something like that. But it would make sense if that happened before maybe week 5 or week 6 of the NFL season. So let's see how that plays out. Ajashak, he's hoping so. As a Bears fan, he is hoping that is the case. Meanwhile, Jordan Love's out there getting hit. Buffalo is still up 7-0. Greg Razoo. Let's see. Is Green Bay going in with Love as their backup? Is he good? Oh, yeah. Jordan Love is definitely the backup down there in Green Bay. Is he good? He's definitely good. I know he's, we haven't seen much of him in the actual regular season, and that's simply because you got a guy like Aaron Rodgers. But, I mean, considering when you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers starting quarterback, some of the potential options you could have, Jordan Love, he is definitely a great backup, and he comes with a high potential, of course. That's why he was drafted in the first round. And so is he good? That answer is going to be something that Jordan Love's going to have to go out there and show whenever he gets the opportunity, when his number is called. But definitely having him as a backup, that's a good spot to be in right there for sure for the Green Bay Packers. So this is a great spot, great situation for Green Bay. And Jordan Love, he's still young, but I think that he is good, and I think he's going to pan out just great for Green Bay. And while I say that, he overthrows the tight end. Let's see. Ajashak says that we need a good young receiver for Justin. But before we even get to the wide receiver, we definitely need to make sure that the offensive line improves as well. I want to see Chicago next year with their first round, with either their first, second, or third, any of those top 3 rounds, end up taking some linemen, preferably 2 of the top 3. Get some linemen, get some help for Justin Fields. I don't want to see him take another hit like we saw in that one preseason game where obviously the guy came in unblocked, but we need to see that offensive line really protect for their quarterback, especially the future of Justin Fields in that pocket. Let's see. Mike says Bears roster is rough. It'll be a rough year. No O-line. And so Mike mentions the offensive line here, and he thinks that the Bears are going to have a rough year. And so the offensive line is certainly something that I'm going to be keeping my eye out for this upcoming season for sure. That's going to be the X factor of this team, especially early on when you've got Andy Dalton in. Andy's going to take a lot of hits. And so will he be able to deliver the ball on the money? That remains to be seen. Matt Nagy thinks he can because Matt Nagy knows his job's on the line. So in order for him to stick Andy Dalton out there, he definitely believes in Andy Dalton. But that offensive line is definitely one to keep an eye out for to see how they're going to look. Obviously, you can't read too much into the preseason, but hey, your job is still the same preseason, regular season, to go out there and block. That is for sure. Let's see. Old Man says, with us getting Wade for cheap, he says, I can see us giving Gilmore a money raise this year, and he walks in free agency. I definitely can see that too. I thought that there was something in place for Gilmore to get more money up front that they did recently for him to try to make him happy, but I don't know if that's going to actually work for him. But yeah, definitely, I'm hoping that's the scenario that plays out. Go ahead, give him his money this year, And then in the offseason, let's make a trade. Let's trade him for a top-tier wide receiver. Let's see. Mike says, "Old man, Green Bay, your team. Are they better this year or worse?" And so we'll leave that there. But he's actually a Patriots fan, and so. But yeah, in terms of, the reason why I say Green Bay is worse, it's not a knock on Green Bay at all. It's just as good as they did last year. In order for me to say that they're better, that means are they going to be in the Super Bowl next year? When I look at that question, and I don't necessarily think that. It's possible. It's very possible, but I can't say that right now the odds would be for them to do that. Thanks for the heads up, Brady. We'll definitely be here talking about the game here and other related stuff. Meanwhile, wait a minute here. I just noticed that the scoreboard here has not changed at all. It just, this is very odd, guys. Let me refresh the page and see what's going on here, because this scoreboard, we're 47 minutes in and it has not updated at all. So let me just refresh this and see if that changed. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, that is very odd. It just did not refresh, update at all. Okay, let me just make sure a couple things are right. But yeah, let's see. Old man says that he's a Patriots fan and we got way better than last year. Yeah, I said this before last year started. It was a wash. Just a year for Bill Belichick to see what he has to build off of. And so that's one thing that everybody's got to understand when they say the whole Bill Belichick versus Tom Brady thing. Tom Brady went to a team that already had some key pieces in place. He looked at the roster. He's like, all right, I can work with this. And so it worked out for him. That's absolutely great. But Bill Belichick, as the head coach, you don't necessarily get to do that. You've got to work with what you got and then build it up. So they need to give Bill Belichick some time to reconstruct the roster. To expect him in year one to go out there immediately and win a Super Bowl, having lost as many guys as they did, that was a tough ask. Let's see. Mike says Patriots can't help but be better. They all took the year off. Cam needs some time to look at some receivers. Let's see. Ashizak said that Bill really seems high on Cam. I highly doubt Mac will start right away. He won't start Mac right away. Meanwhile, Jordan Love, play action fake on 4th and 1, throws the ball wide open. What a play call on that. That looks like a play similar to what I ran on Madden the other day, but it worked. Let's see. But yeah, I definitely agree that Bill Belichick, he certainly has a lot of respect for Cam Newton, and that's something that was earned, because Bill Belichick is someone that you have to go out there and earn that. So whether it's throughout the practice and stuff, seeing the way that he prepares and stuff. So yeah, definitely Bill does have a lot of respect for Cam. Let's see. Mike says Packers dropped down to 5 in my power rankings. I think that's a good spot for Green Bay, honestly, to put them at 5. Meanwhile, Jordan Love just throws something up and he's picked off. Can't do it. You just can't do it. And that is Hyde with the interception already in regular season form. But yeah, you just can't make that throw the way that he did. You just can't do it. Mike says Seahawks up to that 4th spot after a schedule review. Schedules definitely do come into play. Absolutely. Especially if we're talking power rankings. If we're talking in terms of projections of how they're going to finish and stuff. Yeah, the Seahawks are certainly a great team. We know the receivers they have, the quarterback they have, they did pick up, Gabe Jackson. That was huge for the offensive line. So we'll have to see, there's a lot of things to be seen about the defense and stuff, but we'll see how that plays out. Let's see. Okay, so in terms of the Packers running backs, obviously Aaron Jones, they were able to bring him back, and that's really big, to have him, because I really thought they were going to lose him in free agency. I think that a team like the Dolphins were interested at one point, but he ultimately decided to come back to Green Bay, so they were able to work that out. They no longer have Jamal Williams. I finally remembered his name. He went to Detroit. But A.J. Dillon is the backup running back. He's a bruiser, big guy. They drafted him last year, I think, in the 2nd round out of Boston College. And so yeah, the combination of Dillon and Jones is going to be a great one for the Packers this upcoming season. And that's going to make life a lot easier for Aaron Rodgers in terms of not having to do too much. Once again, having those two in the backfield, especially later in the year, A.J. Dillon will continue to be even more of a force in that offense. Let's see. Mike says last year Bills got zero pressure on Mahomes. Mario added, and Jerry Hughes are well aged. Yeah, that ultimately did come into play. If you're not able to get pressure, that's going to be in a bad spot. Not even looking at that game. When you look at how close the Colts came to actually beating Buffalo last year, so they definitely wanted to address those defensive end spots right there for sure. I mean, you had to. You ultimately had to. But yeah. Let's see. Mike says the Ravens my power rank 6. Okay, so you got them 6 as a well-rounded roster. And so yeah, when it comes to a team like the Ravens, I know that they get overshadowed because guys like myself talk a lot about how the Cleveland Browns are going to be, and so but teams like the Ravens, I'm really looking forward to seeing how they're going to do this year, as well as the Steelers. That's going to be a very competitive division once again, and it's going to come down to the last week of the regular season in terms of determining who's going to make the playoffs, who's going to win the division, who's going to be the wild card team, all of that stuff. But yeah, they tried their best to give Lamar some more receivers here, and so I've heard some great things from Bateman. Obviously, if Hollywood can take the next step, that'd be great. Watkins, he's in the playoff experience that he brings. I feel like having a guy like Sammy Watkins would be huge for the playoffs, because we know how Sammy does in the playoffs. So if he can go off in the playoffs and have similar success, that could help Lamar feel more confident in these wide receivers. That is great. And then they have, a great tight end as well down there. So yes, Mike says, well, if you were playing Madden, all the Lion receiver cards are average gold. Terrell Williams, Brashard Perryman, and okay, listen, not terrible, but not super average. And so, yeah, we're really going to have to see how these guys are going to turn out. Obviously, someone's going to have to turn out and be the number one this upcoming season for them. And I have a feeling that, given their roster, there's going to be quite a few amount of games in which Detroit's going to have to try to throw their way back into the game. So that's going to mean, hey, if you have one of these guys, I'm talking about extremely late in the fantasy league, maybe you're a team that has about 12, 14, people in your fantasy league, and then you get one of these guys and figure out which one of these guys are going to be the main target. There may be a lot of points where they get late in the game in terms of just, padding stats and stuff, trying to make the game a lot closer. But yeah, this is definitely going to be a team that's going to have to pass the ball a lot to try to stay in games and keep it close. Yeah, so Mike, the score is currently Buffalo 7, Green Bay 0. You probably made this comment earlier when for some reason ESPN did not update the scoreboard there, but I refreshed the page, so scoreboard should be showing. Let's see, Bears need the O-line. Absolutely. Let's see, Mike says that NFC North, no challenge for Packers. He says, but you've moved up the Vikings a little in your rankings. Okay, so where exactly do you have the Vikings now? But yeah, the Vikings were a team that, coming out of last year, I was probably a little bit higher on the Vikings and stuff, but I'm going to have to see how they look on the field for a little bit before I make my determination on where the Vikings are actually going to end up at. Ashen Shack says that Fields and Andy, they're going to be running for their lives this year. Well, if it's going to be a track race for your life, Justin Fields, he's definitely got the speed, but the last thing I want is for him to be out there constantly getting hit on every play, because it ruins a quarterback's confidence. It does so much to a quarterback when he's out there having to run for his life, and he cannot even trust the offensive line to let him go through his reads and stuff. So I really hope the Bears can find some way to do something with this offensive line. Mike says Jimmy Graham was good back in the olden days. Absolutely. My man Jimmy Graham back in the day, he wanted to be paid like a wide receiver because he was balling like a wide receiver if you go back to his New Orleans days. And so, yeah, but obviously that was a ways back then. But now Jimmy is not someone that you want to start in your fantasy league at tight end, to put it nicely. So, but yeah, back in the day, Jimmy, hey, that basketball experience, that really paid off for him, playing college hoops. Let's see. Meanwhile, Josh Allen, he's still looking. Throws it. Oh, he overthrew Cole Beasley on the play. That should have been a touchdown there. He knows he missed that one. Let's see. Mike says that my rankings consider the fact that there is a little challenge, unlike the Packers and the Bucks. Okay. Let's see. Mike says, I do have one position ranked well for the Bears. That's the linebacking corps. It's Smith, Roberts, slowing down, and then Mac brothers are good. Okay. Let's see. Mike says he feels the Steelers will collapse and the Big Ben era is coming to an end. Meanwhile, Josh Allen with a quick pass in the backfield to Singleton. Yeah, that's Singleton, I believe. And so, well, that may not be Singleton, actually. Let's see. And when it comes to Big Ben, personally, I feel that, yes, Big Ben has seen better days. And I was right there too, but I have heard that Big Ben, obviously he's been losing weight and stuff, getting in better shape. So how you take care of your body, that goes a long way. And so I'm going to be looking to see how Big Ben does. He's got a ton of wide receivers that can help him out. Then Najee Harris at the backfield. So I feel like ultimately all that help can really help Big Ben. But if he were to go out there and struggle, I think that the Steelers may have to look in. If he goes out there and struggle, not saying that he will, but if he struggles, the two backups that they have at quarterback, you look at Mason Rudolph, maybe they plug him in. They don't need much. They just need guys who can get the ball in the hands of their playmakers and let them go from there. So they should be okay in that regards as long as the offensive line can hold up. Let's see. For the Ravens, it is Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is certainly that good tight end. I wish Lamar Jackson would target him more so he can go out there and light it up. But Mark Andrews is a good tight end in this league. Let's see. Mike says that when he does his ranking, he think that when I do my ranking, I think could the Ravens win? That is why I have the Browns dropping a few spots to number 7 at 13-4. Okay, 13-4 is still very good there. I mean, it's going to come down to Baker Mayfield, and then can OBJ give them that extra dimension in terms of, being that deep ball threat and just being that extra wide receiver because they did pretty good with the receivers they had last year, but obviously OBJ is special. And so having him back is going to be really big for the Browns. I cannot wait, guys, for the Browns and the Chiefs opening week. That's going to be a very good game right there. And I'll hold off on saying who I think is going to win until I do my predictions for week 1, in which I need to go ahead and start working on that at the moment that these preseason games are over and the rosters are finalized. Go ahead and put my selections and stuff, who I think is going to win week 1. But that's going to be an exciting one to watch, the Browns versus the Chiefs. Let's see. Mike says that he guesses that the Ravens can hold back. If they can hold back, Garrett and Clowney. You say your fear is your Bills playing the Ravens more than the Browns. Interesting. But I certainly understand that. But then again, Buffalo Buffalo sent the Ravens home last year because the Ravens had beat Tennessee. So, yeah, the Bills did send the Ravens home. Personally, it's something about the Browns in their backfield, obviously, when it comes to that strong running game, but then adding back OBJ and what they have, then the offensive line that the Browns have as well, and then just the confidence that, Baker Mayfield is playing with out there, and then they improved on the defensive end a lot. I mean, you mentioned the pass rushers there, but even in the secondary as well, they made a great addition at safety. So I like this Browns team a lot. But I like the Ravens as well. Lamar Jackson, he's a special guy. And whenever you have someone that's special like that, that can be an X factor. I mean, that game we saw last year between the Browns and the Ravens, that was a great game right there. It was a really great game. We need more primetime games like that. Meanwhile, Josh Allen, he's dropping back to throw. He's on the run. And he throws it. Look at that. He still has nice touch on it. Even though he's out there running, he's still able to face forward, look at the read, and make that throw. And Cole Beasley on the reception. But yeah, look at that. I mean, the pass rush is coming at him, but he's still able to be calm, throw the ball on the money. Let's see. Mike says that he had the 2020 Vikings 17. I mean, you got them moved up 3 spots. You forgot why. Okay. Bet. I mean, when it comes to the Vikings, it's really just going to come down to, Kirk Cousins just being able to go out there and improve upon last year. We know that he has the weapons. I mean, obviously, you look at a guy like, Dalvin Cook, him and Mortensen, those two, great combination there. At wide receiver, you're talking about Jefferson, Thielen, those guys. So definitely, as long as the offensive line can hold up, yeah, the offense will look really good. And as for the defense, that's going to be where a lot of the questions are going to lie. Sure, they brought in a guy like Patrick Peterson on the defensive side of the ball for the Minnesota Vikings, but, we'll have to see just what Peterson's got left in the tank. But I think he'll do good this year for the Vikings as well. So there's a lot to look forward to, and I cannot wait to see some games actually go out there and play so we can have a better idea of where these teams really stand. Meanwhile, speaking of stand, let's see if this Green Bay defense can make a stand here. Zach Moss with the carry. This is the role that they have him for these goal line situations. They want him to be able to come in and be able to power his way in. So if I'm Buffalo, I will keep handing the ball to Zach Moss and see if he can get in the end zone. Let's see. Mike said last year on the Cardinals, where you had the Cardinals 8-8, Cardinals 8-8 last year at the 11th spot, and I will have them moving up a few spots. And so, yeah, for the Cardinals, it's going to all come down to Kyler Murray. Can he take that next step in his development and really go out there? Meanwhile, Green Bay calls a timeout, give them some time to talk about this, how they're going to come out there and try to stop Buffalo. This is a very good, you love situational football in the preseason, especially when you have a lot more of your starting units in, because these are real game scenarios in which you're lining up against your opponent, and you really need to be able to determine if your team has what it takes to make this stop if you're Green Bay. So working on 3rd and goal, what are some potential plays that you can look for, and just, great opportunity to coach them up for situational football. And yeah, this is a very, very tough time of the year right now for a lot of players, because we're talking about a lot of teams having to trim that roster down by Tuesday, from 80 players to 53 players. So that we're talking about a lot of guys that are going to be cut. Now, true, some of those guys may end up on the practice squad spot, so that's going to bode well for them. But for those who, dreams will be coming to an end, a lot of guys are fighting for their NFL dreams. And so that's what this second half is going to be all about for both teams. Meanwhile, Zach Moss with the reception, Josh Allen with the throw while getting hit. Touchdown, Buffalo. What a touchdown. Let's see. Mike says the Dolphins 10-6. I doubt they can replace a record that good. I have them dropping down from spot 15. Okay, so yeah, when it comes to the Dolphins, some of the things that's going to play a factor here is going to be obviously when it comes to the schedule for them. Can Tua remain healthy? And when he is healthy, is he going to have some pressure? Like, is the offensive line going to be able to protect for him? That's going to be really big when it comes to Tua. I feel like if the offensive line can give him some time, then, yeah, he can make some plays. But if they don't give him any time, then he won't be able to do that. Obviously, no Ryan Fitzpatrick to come in and save the day. And then you always got to be skeptical when you see a team that, I'm not going to say overachieved last year, but they definitely far exceeded the expectation this past year. And so now, a lot of guys want to get paid and stuff. At the running back position, I still feel like, even though they've got their, I forget their starting running back name from last season, they picked up Malcolm Brown as well. We'll see how that works out. They do have a lot of wide receivers, though. So if they can get the ball in their playmaker hands, they certainly have a lot of receivers to work with. I feel like the tight end room for Miami, there's some potential there. It's just going to be one of those things that we're going to see throughout the season as it progresses. But the tight end room, they got a lot of tight ends. So I'm certainly going to be looking forward to seeing how that's going to play out. But, of course, the Patriots, they're going to be a better team this year. So a lot of that comes into play for them. Let's see. Give me 1 second here, guys. One second. All right, let's see. Where did I leave off? Okay, here we go. Let's see. Mike says, do they have tight end Kundra or Hollister out for the Bills? That's a very good question. I don't see them on the injured list or anything. So I assume that they're both. And I think the only tight end that's currently on the injured list would be Sweeney, if I'm not mistaken, with a foot. And so I believe he's the only one that's currently out of the tight end positions. Let's see. Had the Pats at 21 last year, have them moving up towards the middle of the pack. Okay, yeah, definitely last year was definitely a tough year for the Patriots, but I feel like they're just way better. Well, way better in my book, but definitely a lot better than what they were last year. And even then, last year's team still could have won a couple more games, honestly, if the scenario worked out better for them. Coach Dante, thank you so much for joining the stream. Glad to have you here. Coach Dante in the house. How's it going? Glad to see you here. Who are you rooting for in this game? Let's see. Mike says that the Pats should keep an eye out. Bills will be shedding some good players. And so, yeah, hey, if there's one person who keeps an eye out, it's definitely Bill Belichick. I mean, you all know Bill Belichick, he has a lot of success, particularly when he pulls guys from within the division. He loves taking guys from the Dolphins roster, particularly. I have noticed that over the years. But yeah, Bill Belichick will certainly pull from within the division because those are the guys that you're more familiar with them. You game plan for them twice a year. So you know what they can do. And hey, sometimes, you can come up with a better game plan on how to utilize them. Meanwhile, with a terrible snap there, Justin and Jordan Love unable to hold the ball there. Luckily, he was able to recover it. Green Bay certainly is going to want to try to get some points on the board here on this drive before the half. You've got Jordan Love in, and he's supposed to be the future of this team, so you really want to see him be able to drive the ball down there and get some type of points here against a team like Buffalo. It would just bode well to see him be able to do that. Let's see. Okay, you're just watching basically the Eagles and the Texans. Okay, gotcha. Definitely understand that. And guys, if you haven't checked out Coach Dante's channel, definitely do check it out, guys. He does a lot of streams and stuff, so he produces great content, great streams. So definitely do check him out. If you're interested, particularly NFL, NBA, Texans, Eagles, I've seen some Houston Rockets, all that stuff. Most definitely. So, yeah, throughout this first half, though, so far, Josh Allen, he is 12 of 16, 123 yards, touchdown. So he's been looking sharp today, pretty sharp out there. And as for Jordan Love, 5 of 8, 61 yards. So definitely we want to see a little bit more here with this drive here for Jordan Love. It'd be nice if he can cap it off with some type of score. But ultimately, yeah, Bills definitely are looking really good in this one. And as for the Packers, this is just a really good chance for situational football and evaluate how you match up against a team like Buffalo. And vice versa as well, because both of these teams were in the playoffs, won their divisions last year, and they have high hopes for this upcoming season. Let's see. All right, let's see. Next question is, okay, a rundown of the Packers wide receiving corps. I know that they just dropped one of their receivers that they had on IR that he's basically been hurt the entire time. Can't think of his name right now. But obviously it all starts with, Devontae Adams at wide receiver. He's that guy for them, the number one wide receiver. And then aside from Devontae Adams and the wonderful connection him and Aaron Rodgers have, there's Marquise Valdez-Scantling. I mean, him in that deep ball, you have him. Then there's Allen Lizard as well. Those two guys particularly very good in terms of being able to really if those guys can step up, then look out. I mean, Green Bay is already hard to stop with the passing, but if those two guys take that next leap, then look out. But those are the guys who typically have those one-on-one matchups, and more times than not, they're coming down with it because, Aaron Rodgers, he puts the ball on the money. And then outside of that, they did make that trade with Houston via request of Aaron Rodgers to bring Randall Cobb back at wide receiver. So that reconnection with Aaron Rodgers is going to be really big right there. So we'll see where he fits on the depth chart, but he's definitely that slot type of wide receiver that can really be, hopefully, what Green Bay's hoping for. He can be that wide receiver that they're looking for. And let's not forget now, when we watched Green Bay versus Tampa, they came so close last year to beating Tampa. So maybe if they had a Randall Cobb, maybe they would have gotten that third down completion that they needed, or maybe they would have went for it on fourth down. Who knows, but definitely they fell just short. So they're hoping a guy like Randall Cobb can make that much of the difference there. So those are some of the key receivers there. Now, other than that, to build out the rest of the depth chart here for the Green Bay Packers at wide receiver, I'd have to, check their roster and see. Let's see, Amari Rodgers. That's right, they still got Rodgers. And then some other guys that are fighting for some roster spots here. So we'll see how that works out for them. Jerron Winfrey, that's one. So for sure. Let's see. Bet. Most definitely. I got you. I'll send that as soon as I get this a chance. Let's see. Malik says the Niners 13-4 with Lance starting after the bye. Okay. Lance would go 9-3 and Jimmy goes 4-1, but does not play very well, or does not play well. Meanwhile, we see Jordan Love using his legs. That's a great dimension that he can provide to this offense. Okay, so 13-4 for the 49ers. I think it's a possibility. But as you mentioned, they would definitely have to get out to a hot start. But if Jimmy is struggling, will they be able to go 4-1? That is a big question there. But yeah, I know a lot of Niner fans are really hoping that Trey Lance will get in sooner rather than later. I see a lot of people have punted on Jimmy G. But for the 49ers' sake, Jimmy G definitely, if he goes out there and he does good, that's going to give them more trade value for Jimmy G when we're talking about in the future. And not to mention Jimmy G, he came like really one pass shy of perhaps winning a Super Bowl. So I know that Kyle Shanahan wants to see what he can do early on, but having Lance in your back pocket, that's really good. And it does make sense to transition, at the bye week, because you need to know what you're getting in a guy like Trey Lance, since you did take him with the first pick. So definitely it makes a lot of sense to make that switch to the bye. We saw the Dolphins did that last year, despite the fact that Ryan Fitzpatrick was playing at a high level for the Dolphins last year. They still made that switch. So we'll see if the 49ers will replicate that. Let's see. Mike says, that is a good receiving corps, but Buccaneers secondary will be better. I do anticipate the Buccaneers secondary to be even better this year. I think that they're just going to develop more, obviously more experience, having played in a big game, won the Super Bowl, more confidence, and then not to mention the front seven of the Buccaneers as well. That's going to play a major factor as well. So, yeah, secondary for the Buccaneers, I think that's going to be better as well. Let's see. Mike says, I don't have Niners anywhere near that in that conference. Injuries is going to be a key factor when it comes to all of these teams in that particular division, because from a talent standpoint, they're all the same. I know the 49ers had a bad year last year, but my goodness, who wouldn't have a bad year if you had that many injuries? I guarantee if Tampa Bay has the amount of injuries that the 49ers had last year, Tampa Bay would look kind of like what the 49ers did last year. They went through about 3-4 quarterbacks, 3-4 running backs, tight end was out, everybody was out, defensive end, defensive play, everybody, literally everybody was basically hurt. I mean, injuries were contagious around there. I mean, you would have thought that the injury bug was being transferred like a virus or something like that, guys. Like, it was just crazy how the 49ers were injured last year. And it wasn't, we're talking about 1 or 2 games for most of these people. We're talking about out for the year, out for half the season, most of the season. So when you have stuff like that, it's really hard to contend. But if they're fully healthy, then I think this team is definitely far better than what they were last year. Now, just how good, that's going to remain to see how they can compete in that division. Appreciate you, Malik. Yeah, the big 700. So yeah, definitely. It was definitely felt great to reach that 700. Now that I'm in the 700s, it feels like I'm so close to that, 1,000 mark, and I'm really hoping to reach that, before the end of the year. And at the rate that the channel's been growing, the odds are looking good, but obviously got to take it one day at a time. And hey, we're at the best part of the season. This is what it all comes down to. We're basically, college football has started. By the way, does anybody have the score update for the Illinois game versus Nebraska? But yeah, outside of that, I mean, you've got the NFL regular season coming very soon. We'll get to see the Cowboys and Buccaneers soon. A lot of great stuff coming up. A lot of great stuff. All right, let's see what Coach Dante's got to say about this. Coach Dante says the only way you may see Trey Lance play this year if Jimmy Garoppolo is struggling. But if he's playing good football, I don't see them taking him out of the lineup, even if they have a great record. And so there you go. Coach Dante said it. And when Coach Dante speaks, we listen. There we go. I think that they do want to try to hold off on Trey Lance for as long as they can. And so I can certainly see that scenario. I feel like there are scenarios for certain teams where, you look at their situation, it's like, okay, the veteran quarterback, is really their job to lose. Jimmy G was a solid quarterback for them whenever he was healthy. The key question we should be asking is not when are the 49ers going to transition to Trey Lance. It probably might be, will Jimmy Garoppolo be able to stay healthy for the year? Because that ultimately can change everything. If Jimmy G goes down with another injury, then his time will pretty much be done down there in San Francisco. So he's got to stay healthy. That's not something that he's been able to show that he can do at a consistent level. Because the moment that you put Trey Lance out there and he goes out there and they're able to win a game or two with him, then Jimmy's going to find himself holding the clipboard. So he's going to have to stay healthy. That's really the biggest question for him. Let's see. Mike says the 49ers were worse in the conference, 6 wins. Are you missing? I mean, yeah, in terms of like wins and losses, then yeah, if you're going off of that, then yeah, the 49ers, absolutely. But in terms of their pure talent and like the injuries that they had last year, they had so many injuries last year. The team that they put out there was basically the team that you saw late in the preseason game. That was not a great representation of the 49ers. I know I talked a lot about the Patriots and their situation where guys opting out. Well, what's worse than opting out when you have about 50% of your roster, that's your starting lineup, injured, and then the other 20, and then another 20% that's just not out there, because they're still dealing with minor injuries and stuff. I mean, they was down to their 4th string quarterback for like 2, maybe even 3 games. I remember there was a point in time where they were alternating between a 3rd string quarterback and 4th string quarterback. So, I mean, clearly, yeah, I thought they did a good job in terms of just the guys they had on the field last year, just being able to be competitive when they were competitive, honestly. I mean, they had a lot of injuries last year. A lot. Let's see. Meanwhile, give me 1 second, guys. Okay, so yes, and just to, I guess, give a deeper recap of some of the injuries that the 49ers had last year, just to call out a few. Obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo hurt his ankle, Richard Sherman his calf, Solomon Thomas, defensive tackle, ACL, Nick Bosa, ACL, D Ford is back, George Kittle foot, Raheem Mostert ankle, then on the offensive line, Ben Garland his calf, and then a couple other guys there. And even the backup tight end, Jordan Reed, he hurt his ankle. Jalen Hurd, he tore his ACL. Jeff Wilson Jr. an ankle. And I'm skipping through some of these injuries here. Jerron Jennings, Chris Thompson, some of that receiving depth there that they had last year. So that's just a couple, defensive end, Ezekiel And so I can go on and on. They have a lot more guys that I'm looking at from their injury list for last season that they had injured in the 2020 season for the San Francisco 49ers. So that's why a lot of people are much higher on the 49ers this year, because if they're not injured, we're talking about a completely different team that's a lot closer to the roster they had 2 years ago when they made it to the Super Bowl. So if you take last year out of the equation because of the injuries, then that's what we're going off of when it comes to some of those projections. But of course, with the 49ers, health is very big. Mike says if the 49ers play the Seahawks, you're taking the Seahawks 10 out of 10 times. If the 49ers are playing the Seahawks and the 49ers are healthy, I'm going to take the 49ers about half the time, probably about 50% of the time if both teams are fully healthy. I'll go with that. Coach Dante said 49ers are one of my wild card teams. If they're healthy, I got them going 11-6. I can see that being the case, really 11-6. I think that's probably about where they're going to end up at this year, barring injuries, because injuries can definitely change stuff for sure. Let's see. Malik says their D-line would cook the Hawks O-line. And so, I mean, Gabe Jackson's going to have his hands full. That's for sure, unless he can make clones of himself. And even then, let's see. Coach Dante. Okay, so Nebraska is up 7-2. So, okay, so they're fighting the line. They got a safety. That's interesting. That's really interesting there. And so I know they fighting the line. They were able to, I think Illinois beat Nebraska last year, if I'm not mistaken. And they got a lot of guys returning from last year's roster as well. So that'll be interesting right there. It seems like it's a defensive game. But then again, it is still fairly early, I guess. As Coach Dante says, definitely agree with you. And Jimmy Garoppolo is playing for value any way it goes. This is his last season in San Francisco. Absolutely. So if you can win with him and still get that trade value up, because there's going to be teams that's going to need quarterbacks. That's one thing you can always bank on. So maybe it might make sense next year for a team like the Houston Texans to, reach out to the 49ers in exchange for trying to get a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo possibly, to come in and be their quarterback. That's one team that comes to mind. I think Detroit would probably be better off. Well, I don't know if Detroit would be better off drafting the quarterback. I feel like Detroit got a lot of holes that they need to fill. So maybe if Jared Goff struggles next year, then maybe Jimmy Garoppolo might be a guy you bring in or something like that. But yeah, those are just a couple teams that, projecting extremely early that might be looking for a quarterback next year. That Jimmy Garoppolo might make sense. Maybe Miami, if they want to bring some competition for Tua next year. You never know. Yeah, this is definitely his last chance, guys. I mean, if Jimmy goes out there and this is his last run with the 49ers. I mean, ultimately, we know that the team knows that he just has not shown the ability to be healthy throughout the year. Okay, so it's actually 6-2. So, yeah, it's definitely a very defensive game. Then talking about a pair of field goals and a safety. Hey, Mike, we didn't mean to gang up on you there, Mike, But, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to make sure that, yeah, that's why you see a lot of people talking about the 49ers this year because, 2 years ago, that roster, with most of those guys intact, they were able to get to the Super Bowl and almost win it. And we know that defensive line is something special. And you look at the injuries that they just had, last year, it was just really wasn't even the 49ers out there. They were just, I don't know, drop the 4, drop the 9. They were just the Ers out there, that's exactly what they were. Okay, now 9-2. Okay, I want to see Illinois go out there and score, definitely. I mean, both teams, obviously, with them being both in the Big Ten, and I'm a Buckeyes fan, I definitely do pay attention to the Big Ten. So I'm definitely, matter of fact, on my end, going to start checking out the score here. But I do see it is currently 9-2 right now. Okay. And so all 9 points came in the second quarter for Nebraska. The 2 points came for Illinois early on. What is going on with Illinois' offense right now? Mike says that Sweeney's always hurt. He might be the kind of player Bill can make good. Bill's definitely looking for someone that can come in and add that depth at that, tight end position. So I know that Bill, he certainly seems like he wants to add one more tight end. He keeps picking up guys, dropping them. Obviously, the guys that he drafted, you might as well say that they're as good as gone. It's just a matter of time, honestly, because they have not been able to contribute at all. They have been some of the most disappointing draft picks that I have seen walk through the organization, because we really needed them. Like, we honestly really needed them, and they did not come through whatsoever. Mike definitely understands that. Hey, when everybody's making these points, it's yeah, most definitely. But I will say this, Mike. I mean, if at the end of the year, if your projection of the 49ers is right, that gives you the ultimate bragging rights to come back on the live stream and let us know that you called it when everybody else was wrong. So you definitely will be able to say that. Let's see. Mike says, to be honest, Dawson drop could use Bill's help. Um, yeah, Bill definitely. I mean, right now, obviously, there's going to be a lot of changes that's going to transpire. And we're going to see not just some of these guys that, we're expecting to get cut, but a couple guys that we're not expecting to get cut. I remember this is going to go back some time to about around the 2003 season, 2002, 2003 season, when the Patriots, they let go Lawyer Malloy so close to the regular season. I mean, a guy like Lawyer Malloy hitting the market, that was absolutely insane. Now, for Buffalo, that was good news, but for the Patriots, that was tough to swallow at that time. But, I mean, ultimately, the Patriots were able to still, win the Super Bowl that year. But you will see guys, get traded, get cut. I mean, heck, we saw 2 trades today. What do you guys think about the whole Gardner Minshew being traded to Philadelphia? I mean, I thought Jacksonville should have held on to him. They really could have used him at that backup quarterback spot. You just never know whether we're talking injuries, whether we're talking COVID. For them to get rid of him, that was absolutely crazy. Let's see. Mike says, "Oh, I'm adjusting it a little. I didn't know all the." Yeah, I mean, hey, a lot of times we just know, mostly about our favorite teams or maybe a couple teams, but it's hard to follow each and every team around the league. So certainly understand that. Believe me, that is a lot. I'm the same way when it comes to the NBA. I might be a little behind on some teams just because, trying to keep up with every team. That's a lot. Let's see. Ty Law. Ty Law was another Patriot cornerback that we ended up, although when we let him go, it wasn't during the preseason. It was more so in the offseason, because at that time when Ty Law, I think he had gotten injured throughout a good portion of the season. So that's when Asante Samuels came onto the scene. And so kind of like how Bill Belichick, they were Sean Wade, 5th round pick. Asante Samuels, I think he was a 5th round pick as well. I'm talking about not Asante Samuels Jr., but his father, who played for the Patriots. And Bill saw enough from him, and so Ty Law was expendable. Ty Law wanted to come back, but Ty Law wanted money, so Ty Law was out the door. I was very sad because Ty Law was my favorite Patriots player back then during that time, obviously aside from Tom Brady. I think it was Tom Brady, Ty Law, Troy Brown. Those were the first 3 of my favorite players, like when I first started watching football, those 3 guys right there. So to lose Ty Law, I didn't like it at first, but hey, Asante Samuels, I love the way that he went after those interceptions, and so we were fine. And then I learned to just trust in Bill Belichick. He knows what he's doing. Let's see. Uncle Rico is going all in with Trevor. Yeah, Trevor's going to be – Trevor, they definitely are going to put all of this on his shoulders to try to carry that team. And, I mean, you already see Travis Etienne's already out for the year, or basically it's looking like the entire year. And so it could very well turn out to possibly be a long season for Trevor, especially when you consider some of the defenses he's going to have to face and teams he's going to have to go against. But we'll see how this works out. He's ultimately going to be better for it at the end of the year. He's going to gain so much experience, but he's got to take some lumps in this growing for sure when it comes to Trevor Lawrence. Let's see. So good luck convincing you that the Rams are going to win 10 games this year. I will say this. When it comes to the Rams this upcoming season, I personally, if you look at my projections for like I did a couple, I didn't go through all the teams and stuff like that. I mean, some of the comments were getting very ridiculous, and so I didn't get through every team prediction. But when I came for the Rams, I at the time had the Rams projected 14-3. If I had to do it all over again, I would put the Rams at 11 wins right now. So I had them dropping because of their running back situation. Because I personally thought Cam Akers was going to be on a route to where he was going to have 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 receiving yards as well if he was able to stay healthy. But obviously him being injured already for the year, throw that out the window. And then I went ahead and reevaluated them. And after that, I didn't like too much what I was seeing, especially in that tough division and stuff like that. I know Matthew Stafford, he's going to be big. He's going to have to do a lot for that offense. He's going to have some good receivers. But, hey, I saw Matthew Stafford play with Calvin Johnson in the past, and it didn't result to much. So definitely understand, but I also, for the same reason, the Rams last year, I feel like they made the playoffs in spite of whoever they put at quarterback, whether it was Goff, whether it was, what was that guy's name, Wolford at quarterback. They still was a playoff team last year, was in spite of who they put at quarterback. So you add someone like Matthew Stafford, they still should be a team that can make at least a wild card at the very least. So they should still be a playoff team, in my opinion. And so and then you add Sony Michel to that, him, Henderson, and then the receivers they've got. So I think the Rams are still a playoff team. So I think about 10 wins is probably where I've got them at, 10 or 11 wins. But that's about where I'm at. Exactly. Lawyer and Law had a nickname. I remember Chris Berman used to say, "I fought the law and the law won Ty Law." I remember that. Yeah, they definitely had some some names on them for sure. For sure. Let's see. Give me 1 second here. One second. And meanwhile, we are at the half here, so we can look forward to seeing, I'd imagine, Mitchell Trubisky coming in the second half for the Buffalo Bills. And then, for Green Bay, I mean, obviously Jordan Love. He went out there. He threw an interception. He shouldn't have thrown that one pass off the back foot. But other than that, he looked pretty solid. I mean, he made a mistake, but that's just one of those growing pains that you really just learn, honestly. Give me 1 second. Let's see. All right, let's see. Any Marquise Stevenson action? Let's see. Marquise Stevenson. As of right now, yeah, I don't believe so as of right now. Other than he did have a kick return for 25 yards, though. And so, yeah, that's it. Let's see. You say Cam Akers must be great. I know Cam Akers, he was a rookie last year, but if you watch the end of the season when it came to the Rams, particularly the last like 4 or 5 games for Cam Akers, they finally started giving him the ball, and he was starting to perform at a high level. I'm talking about like running, receptions. He was becoming a bigger part of the offense for sure. And so I have no doubt that this year the offense would have really went through Cam Akers a lot, and he was going to have a lot of opportunities to go out there and have a massive leap. And so that was my expectations for Cam Akers. But unfortunately, injuries derailed a great season before it can even happen. So we're going to have to wait till next year. But yeah. Let's see. The law firm. There you go. Ty Law. Now, Ty Law he's definitely my all-time favorite cornerback just throughout the NFL that has played at least since the year 2000. So, yeah, definitely the law firm. Let's see. Coach Dante, he says Cam Akers, he played some elite football late in the year. Absolutely agree. And plus that Seattle game in the playoffs, So yeah, so I was thinking that Cam Akers was going to pick up where he left off at when it came to that, and then from there he was going to be able to really have a great year. So when I saw that he was hurt, I was hurt for him because I felt this was going to be the year where a lot of people are really going to recognize Cam Akers, But man, I mean, that was tough. That was tough. Let's see. You got the Rams going 12-5. Okay, yeah, definitely, definitely, yeah. So, yeah, as I said before, if I had to redo my prediction for the Rams, I'd lower it from that 14-3 because that's clearly not going to happen, to 12-5, 11-6, something along that line. I feel like that would be a good spot to put the Rams for this upcoming season. But yeah, they're definitely going to be a fun team to watch. And anytime you see the Rams play, it's pretty much going to be a primetime game. The Rams need to make sure that they don't have any more instances happen like last year when they randomly lost the game to the Jets. I remember that because I did a video and I had just said that there was no way the Jets were going to have a chance to beat the Rams. And lo and behold, somehow, some way, the Jets decided that they wanted to play football all of a sudden and then beat a very good Rams team last year. I remember that. So they definitely need to make sure that they stay focused this time around. Let's see. Duke Williams, he was just cut from the Buffalo Bills. And so, yeah, Duke Williams. I think another team will probably pick him up. I don't think it'll be the Pats, but hey, definitely a good one. Definitely a good one. Yeah. Hey, that is a tough division, honestly. I mean, when I was trying to do the predictions for every team in that division and stuff, it was really tough because if you give one team a win, that means another team has to lose, and that's the tough part about it. I mean, honestly, when you look at it, but I think 12 wins, given the fact that we know the Rams last year was able to make the playoffs in that very same division, although the 49ers were injured, so we will give them that excuse there, of course. But in that same division, they were able to make the playoffs with a worse quarterback situation. So, yeah, and with the defense that they got, obviously Aaron Donald and company, the defense is going to win them a lot of games right off the bat. And then a lot of those other games, even if they just go 3-3 within the division, that they're just really good to where they can still make up for it in terms of outside of the division games, So it'll be a tough division for sure, but that's really going to be the most intriguing division. And one of those topics that after each week, we're going to have to constantly give updates about the standings, where each team's ranking and stuff like that. It's going to be a fun one to track throughout the regular season. Bet. Yeah, I may have to actually do that. I know there's a couple more teams that I probably should go ahead and get to. And then next week, with there not being any preseason games next week, it'd probably be a good opportunity to really do that. As well as focus on some more stuff for college football as well. Start getting that hype train going. Let's see. Coach Dante says that, Mike, I know they're in the toughest division in football. Any one of those teams could definitely win the division. And I have confidence in the Rams' top 10 quarterback. And so there you go. Coach Dante said it. And I will say this, though. I honestly feel that in that division, any team in that division can make a case to win the division. Now, I will say I think the Cardinals – they probably have the least chance of actually winning the division, although I am high on the Cardinals. I think if Kyler Murray can go out there and have an MVP season, they could, sneak into the playoffs. But in terms of actually winning the division, I don't think the Cardinals will do it. I think it'll come down to, obviously, you've got Seattle. Seattle's always there. They're always going to be there. Russell Wilson will have that team in the conversation. But I think head-to-head this year, at least for right now, when I do my pregame predictions, that might change. But I think the Rams – may head-to-head, beat Seattle, and ultimately when it matters the most. And so I got the Rams probably edging out the Seahawks there, just slightly. It could go either way, but just slightly. Right now I'm leaning towards them. And then the 49ers, they're the X factor there. We're going to really see just how good these 49ers are in terms of that. But I think the 49ers are still a playoff team if healthy. I cannot emphasize enough if healthy. This team has got to find a way to stay healthy. I mean, it is ridiculous the amount of injuries that they've had. Let's see. Mike says, did you see Hopkins reach over a Bills DB and win that game? Hey, I did see that happen. The only part that I'm sad about is that I wasn't live streaming that game when it happened, so you guys could have saw my reaction. But that was a crazy play right there. I mean, D Hops showing that he has the hops to go up there and get the ball. I mean, he timed it perfectly, reached the ball at its highest point, and had the strength to be able to go out there and secure the ball. I've got a lot of respect for DeAndre Hopkins, honestly, because a lot of what he did in the NFL, he did it with poor quarterbacks. I mean, you think of guys like, just thinking of random quarterbacks that he played with throughout his career, guys like TJ Yates, if anybody remembers him, the former North Carolina Tar Heel, guys like him. And then Tom Savage, if you remember the Tom Savage era as well down there in Houston, he played with a lot of different quarterbacks, and he was still able to go out there and get his yards. So definitely a lot of respect for D Hops in his game. And he's going to be play a big role this upcoming season again for the Cardinals. Let's see. Coach Dante says a great slot receiver, awesome tight end, and a great defense. And I agree with you. I think the NFC West is the toughest division in football. They have 4 potential playoff teams. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And if any of these teams the teams that end up missing the playoffs, it's simply because the division is just that tough, but they certainly have the talent to where they could certainly be a playoff team, but it's obviously there's only 7 spots. If there was 8 spots, then maybe everybody can get in, but for 7 spots, everybody's not getting in. You can forget that. That's not happening. So someone's going to have to take an L, even if they do end up with a winning record, like maybe a 9-8 type of record for the 4th seed. I can see that very well being the case. Mike says that if Rams were traded with the Packers, 12 wins, then 12 wins. Yeah. Let's see. Coach Dante with the update here. So Nebraska and Illinois is tied up 9 apiece. Okay, how did Illinois get that last touchdown? Was it a rushing touchdown, passing touchdown? But hey, that's great. 9-9. Let me see. Okay, yes. Okay, so it's still in the second quarter of that game, and so it's 9-9. Okay, wonderful. Mike says, so the regular season started today in college football. Absolutely. This is what they call week 0, and so it still feels weird saying week 0. But yeah, there's just a couple of teams that, going ahead and get the season started. The biggest game, in my opinion, right now is the game that's currently playing Nebraska versus the Fighting Illini. Now, you've got 2 Big Ten teams currently tied right now. Obviously, both of these teams are feeling a lot of pressure. If they're going to have a good season, it's going to be very important for them to come out there and win this game for them today. And so it's currently tied 9 apiece. I'm rooting for the Fighting Illini to win this game. I want to see the Fighting Illini do well. The last time the Fighting Illini did extremely well, in my opinion, you have to go back to, or at least, to the point where I really remember. I believe like 2011 may have been their last bowl game or something like that. But 2007, when they had Juice Williams at quarterback down there for the Fighting Illini, that's really the last time that I really said to myself, wow, the Fighting Illini, they're a team to be reckoned with. When they had Juice Williams and company, all those guys, absolutely. And there you go. Let's see. Thoughts on the Arizona Cardinals offensive line. I honestly would have to do a little bit more research on the Cardinals offensive line, but I will say this. I don't think it is, elite or anything like that. It's definitely not top tier. But in terms of like how they made any improvements and stuff in the offensive line, I got to double check that. But I do know this. Last year, Kyler Murray ended up getting hurt. It was absolutely horrible that it happened. And so you definitely need the offensive line to protect him, because if he goes down, your season goes down for Arizona. It's just that simple. He drops, the team drops. He's out there running for his life. It's not a good sign for the Cardinals. And the defenses that they got to play against, I mean, you're talking about, you look at the Rams with Aaron Donald and company. You look at the Cardinals and what they got, Chandler Jones, J.J. Watt, that combination, stuff like that, and so you're going to need that offensive line to hold up. You're absolutely going to need that offensive line to hold up. Absolutely. Mike says that's great. He loves college football. Absolutely, Mike. And as I mentioned before, for those of you that are watching, I'm definitely looking to stream some college football stuff. I'm gonna say that there's a good chance that I'll be able to stream when Ohio State opens up their season on the 2nd of next month, so September 2nd. But the only thing is, though, I'll be going to the eye doctor, so I'll have to see if they end up numbing my eyes. If they end up numbing my eyes, then I will not be able to actually see my screen. But I will do my best, and if I feel it'll be a game time decision, but if I feel that I'll be able to see the game good enough to be able to do it, then I will definitely be streaming that game. Because as a Buckeyes fan, I want to stream it. I wanted to stream the Cornhuskers versus Fighting the Illini game. I really did, but at the same time, I know we had this preseason game going on, so I had to finish out the preseason first before we get to that. But at least I'll no longer have to make the decisions between an NFL game and a college football game, moving forward, because there'll be, different days, obviously, as we'll be having college football on Saturdays. That's going to be the new norm moving forward, college football on Saturdays. Mike says Yates was no, and then Hoyer. That's right. They did have Brian Hoyer down there. They had guys like Matt Schaub as well. Remember do you guys remember when they tried to start Ryan Mallett, and then he ended up missing the plane, and then they ended up having to not start him? I mean, that was some crazy times, really crazy times. Let's see. Coach Dante says, don't get me started on the quarterbacks that DeAndre Hopkins played with. Please don't talk about that. And the guy still produced a high level, and he had no number 2 wide receiver, and he still produced. You know what? If there's one thing I can say about Houston that they've been able to do, throughout ever since the franchise, came from an expansion team. You look back to Andre Johnson as well. He got to play most of his time with David Carr at that time, the brother of Derek Carr. But these guys, they didn't have much help in terms of a number 2 receiver. They had to beat a man, go out there, perform. No real quarterback throughout most of it. I mean, Matt Schaub, a lot of different guys that they threw out there at quarterback down there in Houston. So I will spare Coach Dante that one. He said, don't get me started. Brian Hoyer, TJ Yates, Case Keenum. Can't forget Case Keenum. 2-time Brock Osweiler. Oh, man, Brock Osweiler. I forgot about Brock Osweiler. That was rough as well. The worst quarterback in Houston Texans history, in his opinion, Brandon Weeden. It made no sense to pick up Brandon Weeden whatsoever. I think by the time the Browns had him, we all knew that there was nothing to be had with Brandon Weeden. So, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like teams were just dumping quarterbacks to Houston, and Houston was just saying, okay, we'll take them. We'll take them. For so long until they finally brought in Deshaun Watson, which is why the organization does not want to move on from Deshaun Watson after you look at the list of other quarterbacks that they had. Let's see. Mike says, all my Bills buddies love that new wide receiver from the Broncos. Saints last year. Yep, there you Emmanuel Sanders. Yep, how good is he actually? Emmanuel Sanders is a very good 2 wide receiver. Very good 2. He's the kind of wide receiver that in the big game, he knows how to find the end zone. I remember last year watching the Saints, and there was a couple games, believe me, because I was watching the Saints because I was going against a guy in my fantasy league a couple of times that had Drew Brees at the quarterback, and then he had picked up Taysom Hill. And even throughout all of that, Emmanuel Sanders is still a constant. I feel like you know what you're getting with Emmanuel Sanders. He's consistent. He's probably going to get you anywhere between 5 to 7 catches and probably get in the end zone. If not in the end zone, get you awfully close to the end zone there. So he's definitely a good option to add and was a great addition for Buffalo. He will complement what you guys already have at the receiving core. Let's see. Okay, so they scored by a rushing touchdown. Okay, that's absolutely great. Absolutely great. Let's see. Is it halftime yet? Actually, for the Nebraska-Illinois game, it is still about a minute till halftime for that game right there. So that game is still, going on, but it's not at halftime yet. Yep, there you go. Coach Dante, he's on it. Let's see. Cardinals got the Bills last year. Yeah, they did. They did. But I tell you what, though, if they ran it back, though, I can't necessarily say that I like their odds to do it again, though. I'm just talking about matchups and stuff. Let's see, Mike. We're gonna have to wait till next week. Guys, I in addition to the Ohio State Minnesota game, but I'm definitely looking to stream the Georgia Clemson game as well in terms of live streaming for that one. I think that one's going to be a great game as well. But yeah, I'll definitely try to get ahead of the schedule. But the first weekend, bear with me because I got to see how my eyes are going to progress if they do numb my eyes. Because last time it took me 4 days before I was able to actually see my screen regularly, like just see the small print and stuff. And it was just awful, guys. So definitely dreading that. So, but we'll see how quickly I'm able to recover from that. Meanwhile, Matt Barkley is out there. But yeah, the SEC will be next week. Let's see. Mike says Ryan Mallett, man. As a Patriots guy, I'm telling you, the only thing that Ryan Mallett ever did for me on the Patriots was on Madden, because I remember there was a glitch with Ryan Mallett that if you quarterback sneaked with him, or at least it was for me, he would turn what should be a 1 yard gain into about 15, 30 yards. Okay, like every other time I would quarterback sneak with Ryan Mallett. I don't know how they did that, but it worked out. Let's see. Coach Dante says, don't bring that up. I remember that the day that our Bill O'Brien said Brian Hoyer was going to be the starter. Ryan Mallett got mad. He missed the plane, and he made an excuse to Rick Smith. Hey, guys, I remember that. That was honestly, that had to be one of the top 3 craziest things that I saw happen throughout just the last, few decades, honestly, when it comes to something that's supposed to go down, but then Ryan Mallett got mad and missed the plane. That was crazy. I guess the top craziest thing had to be the whole A.J. McCarron situation where he was about to be traded to the Browns, was supposed to be their starting quarterback. Everything got announced only for them to make an error on the trade, and then it ends up not happening, all because of a mistake. Like, you had the agreement in place, but then the Browns not be able to pull that off at that time. That was pretty embarrassing at that time. The Browns have come a very long way from where they were at that time. Let's see. Coach Dante says, and Brian Malik said his cell phone was off. Rick Smith, and don't get me started up on that. So Ryan definitely was upset. That was bizarre. Let's see. And after Ryan Mallett did not wake up that morning after Bill O'Brien said Brian Hoyer was the starting quarterback, he immediately lied to Rick Smith and said his phone was off. Yeah, so let's see. All right, give me 1 second here, guys. 1 second. All right, let's see. All right, so Mike says Shaq Lawson from Clemson. Where is he at now? Any idea? Let's see. Shaq Lawson, last time I checked, I know I did a video about him months ago, early in free agency, back when the NFL free agency was brand new. There was a trade, I think, that went down between the Texans and the Dolphins. I think it sent him to the Texans, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think he's with the Houston Texans right now, if I'm not mistaken. But I think I heard something about Shaq Lawson possibly being a guy that might be possibly traded. I know that there's 2 guys currently on Houston that they're possibly looking to trade because they're used to getting a lot of playing time, and they're basically not going to be starters for Houston this upcoming season. So, but maybe Coach Dante can give an update as to whether or not Shaq Lawson is currently with Houston and the whole that situation. But I think Shaq Lawson is with the Houston Texans, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Coach Dante says, and then we got blown out by the Miami Dolphins. He missed the plane. Let's see. Didn't they sell the farm to get Osweiler? Oh, man, that whole Brock Osweiler thing, man, that was wild when it went down. I mean, when the Broncos basically decided that they didn't want him, for me, that would have been enough to say, okay, maybe we should not get him, especially the kind of money they paid him as well. Oh, man, like Houston really, yeah, I'm leaving that one alone. Let's see. Mike says they should have hit resend on the fax. they really should have. But you know what, Mike? I don't think they ever thought about that. I mean, because Hugh Jackson at the time, he was just making mistakes after mistakes after mistakes. That's why they have to extend Baker Mayfield. They just got to. I mean, they waited so long for a quarterback. I mean, so long. I mean, I really want. I wish that Tim Couch would have played out a lot better for the Browns than it did. Going back there, but man, they went through a lot of quarterbacks down there in Cleveland, and some guys, I don't know what they were thinking. Brandon Weeden, I don't know what they were thinking with that. I would not have done that. I can honestly say, I would not have taken that route with Brandon Weeden. Just when it did it. But yeah, there were some mistakes that was made along the way, for sure. And the whole Trent Richardson situation, how that just fell off the wagon, but they were able to get a first-round pick and dupe the Colts like that. That was wild. But Jim Brown called it. Jim Brown said that what he saw from Trent Richardson, he was not going to be an elite running back or anything like that. Let's see. A score update. Let's see. 16-9, Illinois. A scoop and score fumble with 37 seconds until halftime. Oh, man, that is crazy, guys. That is wild. So the defense has put up what? Let's see. You get the 6 points from that scoop and score, plus the 2 points from the safety. So Illinois' defense has scored 8 points right now, it seems like, in that game. That's crazy. The defense has scored half the points that they have. That's wild. So appreciate that update, Coach. But that is absolutely wild right there to have the Fighting Illini take the lead in that fashion before the half, 16-9. Let's see. So absolutely. Let's see. Meanwhile, let's see if Matt Barkley can throw for a first down here. Buffalo still up 13-0. Throws the ball out the backfield. Gets the first down and then some, takes them to about the 20-yard line, and that is White Jr. with that reception. Let's see. Coach Dante says we were just desperate at quarterback, and Bill O'Brien, actually, he did not like Brock Osweiler. Rick Smith liked Brock Osweiler. But after Brian Hoyer played against the Kansas City Chiefs, let's see. After he played against the Kansas City Chiefs and having all those one-year rentals, we was definitely desperate to get a quarterback instead of trying to draft one and develop one. Absolutely. I mean, I remember the whole Tom Savage, him getting so many starts and stuff between him, TJ Yates. It was crazy, man. Absolutely crazy for the Houston Texans back then, who they were starting at quarterback, honestly. But, I mean, Houston's come far from that point, but we'll see how that goes from there. All Boston Sports, thank you so much for joining the stream. Glad to have you here. And, yeah, just talking a lot about the good old, sport days and stuff, getting ready for the regular season, as well as some updates from college football as well with the Nebraska and Fighting Illini game going on. Just a lot of stuff sports right now. How's it going with you? Let's see. And meanwhile, Buffalo has been looking really good. I mean, they're undefeated this preseason. I know it's preseason and stuff, but that just goes to show that the roster that they got from top to bottom, is looking pretty solid. Let's see. Yep, and so it's halftime, 16-9. Again, the Fighting Illini, their defense has scored half of their points for them, 8 points on a safety and a scoop and score. Nice pass by Barkley on that one to get the first down. That's got to be a first down there. See if Buffalo's going to score again. So far, it's been all Buffalo today. Jordan Love, he did lead Buffalo down to the red zone, but he did throw an interception, pass off off his back foot. Well, that's Jake Fromm in there, quarterback. Man, am I messed up here? That's right, because Barkley, I think he's in Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Let's see. Coach Dante says, do you have to bring up Tom Savage? Hey, Tom Savage. What can I say? The man, he arguably he was one of the better quarterbacks that you guys had during that time frame. Let's see. They can have our Matt Barkley. We'll keep Trubisky. And so, yeah. So, but yeah, that is actually Jake Fromm in there at quarterback. So the former UGA quarterback. Let's see if he can finish this drive in there in the end zone, or if Green Bay defense is going to decide to make a stop here. I mean, the game is still close, but another score, you really don't want that if you're Green Bay. I mean, he's putting the ball in great places out there. Let's see. Boston Sports says, I'm very good. Can't wait to see what Sean Wade can do for us. How am I? I am pretty good, and life is really good. College football week 0. Yes, week 0 in effect. And then the final week of preseason here, we got to see Josh Allen for the first time today. My Patriots are doing great things. Our Patriots are doing great things here. Sean Wade, that trade made me really happy, really happy. I just hope that this trade does not mean that something's really wrong in terms of the whole Gilmore situation. But if everything goes as planned, that is really good. So I am extremely happy about that. And that is a touchdown for the Buffalo Bills. And by the way, Mike, that pass that was incomplete earlier on that second down, that was to Hollister right there. In case you were wondering, Hollister dropped that one right there. So I know you're looking to see which tight end is going to step up, but yeah, we need Hollister to make that catch. He's number 80 in the game, so he's got to do better at making that reception. But in the regular season, I think he'll pull that down. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Marquise Stevenson, the fans are waiting on him. What quarter of the Bills game? Yeah, the Bills right now are in the third quarter. We got about 3 minutes, 46 seconds remaining here as Buffalo's going to try to go for 2. But yeah, it is in the third quarter. So we still got a couple minutes left in the third quarter before the fourth quarter comes in. Yes, Mike says that Barkley is a good backup quarterback. And so, yeah, definitely I think so. Let's see. Hollister, I finally see his jersey number because, I didn't know what jersey number Hollister had, but now I see that he is number 80. So, yeah, that was Hollister with the drop there. So I know you're really paying attention to that tight end spot, and you definitely want to see him be able to catch those. But in the regular season, though, he usually does a good job of making those receptions, especially as he, can excel as that second tight end role, but probably the primary receiving tight end role. And Fromm just throws it up there. That was tipped on the line, though. So there you go. But yeah, so Buffalo up 19-0 right now. So let's see if the Packers can get something going here offensively. As you never, even if it's the preseason, you always want to try to go out there and score something. Let's see. Boston Sports says, I am surprised our Patriots just waived the tight end. We just got, what are your thoughts on it? Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I can't think of his name, but yeah, I know that there was a couple other teams that was also competing to pick him up and claim him on the waivers, but the Patriots got him. And so the Patriots brought him in, but they're clearly looking for something right now because you see a lot of tight ends they're bringing in, cutting towards the bottom of that depth chart because obviously, if injuries were to kick in, then we're right back where we were last year, and we can't rely on the rest of the tight end room. So Bill's really looking for a solid, third and fourth tight end options right now to build out some depth towards the end of the tight end room. So he clearly doesn't like what he's seeing outside of obviously the top 2 tight ends that we brought in via free agency, but we know how injuries, can impact that position right there. So Bill's just trying to get some depth. And I think that we'll see the Patriots bring in another tight end because he's clearly not happy with what he's seeing so far from that. Let's see. Sometime YouTube, Allen rookie year drops. Someone montaged them all in one video. Okay, bet. Let's see. Calvin Benjamin. Calvin Benjamin. I believe we talked about Calvin Benjamin the last stream. I believe that we had. He was something else. I had high hopes for Calvin Benjamin when he came out of Florida State. And then when he went to Carolina, I thought he was in a perfect spot. I thought him and Cam Newton, that was going to be a great combination, because I know that Calvin Benjamin, him and Jameis Winston, they were a really good combination in college when they won the championship. But he definitely, if he'd have had a better career, though, I think that would have helped, Cam out a lot in terms of his time in Carolina. Obviously, he had to rely a lot on tight ends and running backs after his first year when Steve Smith was no longer there after his rookie year. Calvin Benjamin was expected to come in, fill that void. Wasn't able to do it for that long, but there's a lot of receivers that came in that I was high on, but they had the talent, but it just never panned out. Let's see. Boston Sports says, I can't remember his name either. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I can't remember his name. But he certainly is someone that if he can step up, and I'm still rooting for him, I'm hoping that he's learning from some of these top-tier tight ends and stuff, and that maybe he gets bigger this year, learns the offense better, and that he's able to at least be that third tight end. Definitely Bill wants more from that position, and I don't think he's getting it from the younger tight ends. Let's see, but just dropped it after he already caught it. These tight ends, not all tight ends are, I guess, extremely great at making those sideline catches where you got to watch where your feet are and stuff like that. You give him a ball that's more so towards the middle of the field and stuff like that, he can probably make those catches a little bit better than those sideline catches. But he should have caught that one. But he's certainly not a wide receiver. That is for sure. He is. Devin has definitely been a pain so far to watch his development or lack of development so far, and the fact that the Patriots don't use him that much, that tells you a lot about where he is right now in terms of with the Patriots and his development. And I hate to see that, so many of those guys that the Patriots drafted that they needed to step up, but it just didn't work out. You think of all the lost first-round picks and second-round picks and stuff over the years, and it really started to add up. That's why Bill Belichick needed to go out there and open up the wallet and pick up as many guys as he could. And I'm excited for the Patriots, but at that tight end position, I definitely do think that there's going to be another addition at that tight end spot. Let's see. If we traded for Olsen, we would have a top three tight ends in the league. Top three tight ends in the league, and would help our depth. I thought that the Patriots earlier in the offseason were going to sign Kyle Rudolph. I thought that they were going to bring him in. That would have been a nice move to have him as a third tight end. I'm not so sure, though, if we're able to still get the other two tight ends. So I'm glad that we were able to get Jonnu Smith as well as Hunter Henry. But, if a guy like a Greg Olsen or Kyle Rudolph would have been that third option at tight end for the Patriots, that would have been fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Let's see, a second-year leap. I'm really hoping so, but I'm seeing a theme here when it comes to some of these Patriots that get drafted at the, whether we're talking receiver or tight end, and then as a rookie they come in and obviously they're hurt, and then the second year we have high expectations for them, and then they don't really go out there and perform, especially since where he's at right now in the depth chart. So hopefully he will improve, but we're just going to wait and see. Let's see. Mike says, I think day one of practice, Calvin got fired, got him on tape stealing food or boxes or something. With the Giants ultimately, I believe they gave him one of those scenarios. They basically told him, look, when they brought him in and he was trying to come back and step at the tight end position, they wanted him to lose weight. They wanted him to be a little slimmer. So basically what they were hoping for was to get a tight end who can be basically a wide receiver, but have the tight end build, but not that massive. But Calvin, he was working on his game, not necessarily what he was eating and stuff. So, I mean, maybe Calvin still could have produced, but at the same time, that's the expectation they have for him. They wanted him to lose some weight and he wasn't able to do that. So that's why the Giants ended up cutting his comeback short. But yeah, he did definitely gain some weight on him. Let's see. Abhishek says that he went to upload a video to YouTube and it told you that your average was 1 to 4 on the first day of upload. And he was like, dang, YouTube, why you gotta roast me like that? I didn't know that you were uploading videos. I'll definitely check it out and see. But yeah, I'm telling you, those average view counts and stuff, it gets crazy, man. It gets crazy. Like I remember some of my best videos. I remember I did a video talking about the college football expansion. I personally thought at the time that was one of my better, if not my best video. And then YouTube that only showed me only had a couple, I think it had less than 20 views or something like that. At the time, it might have been about 10 views or something like that. But I thought that was my best video because I really was a lot of my own personal input as opposed to just saying news, but it really just did not take off. You never know which videos are going to take off. I've had a couple videos take off that was about punters and stuff, and I really didn't even know much about the punter, but I was like, oh wow, it really had over 1,000 views and stuff. So you just never know with YouTube. You never know. Let's see. Well, an interesting fact, Patriots traded up for, I'll learn his name, I guess, once he starts producing on the field. But yeah, they did trade up for him, but that was purely out of desperation at the tight end position. I mean, you think about where the Patriots were when they made those draft picks. I mean, we had Matt LaCrosse, and I say it to this day. I mean, you basically go out there and get a sitting chair, and you'll get the same production out of the tight end spot that you would from getting Matt LaCrosse out there. And then aside from Matt LaCrosse, I mean, Benjamin Watson had just, I believe he had just retired at the time that the Patriots drafted him. So therefore, you just lost Benjamin Watson, and even he was already up there in age at the tight end spot. So they literally had nobody at tight end. So they really needed to draft some. So I certainly understand why they traded up to get him, because they needed a tight end. And yeah, I mean, it was tough to grade some of those tight ends last year, but they made the choice they made. Let's see. Mike says, personally think Bill could fix Calvin. I don't know about that. I don't know about that one, because if Bill picks him up, he's going to want for Calvin to be able to run block. I don't know how well his run blocking is going to be, but yeah, I don't think so. I mean, Bill's got his hands full right now, so we'd have to see. Appreciate that, Azashak. Appreciate that. Yeah, I think that was one of my most passionate videos that I did as well. So that was one that I was really proud of, but YouTube did not necessarily want to put it out there. But I'm learning so much, though. I mean, now that we have a lot more people on the channel now, I've learned that, it's more so about those who do view the video. If they actually watch the entire video, that's more so important in terms of YouTube actually pushing your video out, as opposed to the likes that you're getting or dislikes and stuff, or comments. I mean, those play a smaller role, I think, but it's more so just the retention of the video and how long people are watching your videos and stuff. And same thing with these live streams and stuff. I mean, the more likes that you get, that plays a role, but just the active people that's watching at the same time, that plays a role. Because the last stream that we did, guys, we reached 300 something people that at least tuned into the stream, the last stream that we had. And that's by far the most that I've ever had on a stream. I think prior to that, it might have been barely in the hundreds. And I think that was the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Brooklyn Nets, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the game that was the most for me prior to that. But yeah, YouTube is definitely an adventure, guys. I tell you that much. Let's see. Boston Sports says that you wanted Rudolph as well, but can't sign all the tight ends. Hey, we can try, though. I mean, hey, some of these tight ends, we can line up in the slot and put them at right receiver. It's just, if we could have had just one more, because Bill's clearly looking for one more, But, I mean, if these guys can step up, then, yeah, that'd be great. Let's see. Azashak says they did trade up for Devin, which makes it even worse how little he did for them last year. I still have really high hopes for him as a third-round pick tight end. Though I feel the tight end that I was high on the most, I can't remember his name. These tight ends, I think he was from Florida Atlantic University, and the Browns ended up taking him. I know he's still on their depth chart, but that was the tight end that I wanted for the Patriots to take that time. I know that at that time, I think he's a little short for a tight end, but I still liked his potential, and so I wanted personally for the Patriots to end up taking him. Let's see. Mike says, I think it's crazy with all the needs the Falcons got. They took a tight end instead of trading out. I feel for the Falcons, if they were going to keep that pick, they had to take the best player on the board. And so when you get a guy like Kyle Pitts, he's so rare in terms of what you're getting from him. They had to basically go with him if they did not go quarterback. I personally probably would have drafted Justin Fields in that spot, but, they ended up taking a tight end. And so at that, I feel like where the Falcons are right now, they've got a lot of needs. And whenever you need a lot of needs, if you're one or two pieces away, then you need to draft specifically, what those pieces might be. And yeah, they could have benefited probably from trading back because there was a lot of teams that needed to move up. But if they did keep their pick, I can't argue the Kyle Pitts thing. I can't argue against it for sure. I mean, Kyle Pitts, he's a rare tight end type of guy. We're not talking about your every year top of the draft tight end. No, we're talking about a special player that has the wide receiver speed and can play, that slot wide receiver as well. So certainly understand that. You say Matt Lacrosse could help a little bit. I mean, at the third tight end role, he does come in with the experience. And so, I guess so. Let's see. I'm surprised they traded Ryan Izzo. He had some potential. They traded him. Didn't they trade him for like just a 7th round pick, if I'm not mistaken? I know they traded him, I think, to the Houston Texans, if I'm not mistaken. But I think it was for a 7th round pick. I know I did cover that video earlier in the offseason. And so let's see. Hunter, he's looking, throws on the run, gets the completion, and they're going to be at about the 8-yard line. So can Green Bay get on the scoreboard here and keep this from being a shutout? And, of course, there's a flag on the play. Let's see. Mike says, all offseason, Bills fans kept putting out false rumors, hoping for Zach Ertz. Hey, Zach Ertz, he really sold us. When he went up there on that press conference and he gave that tearful speech, I mean, I thought his days in Philadelphia was going to be done, but he's still there. I mean, the Eagles are still holding on to him. But I thought that was a move that I really thought Buffalo was going to make as well. So I'll add myself to that list as well. I thought they might cough up a 5th round pick for Zach Ertz or something like that. I know the Eagles probably want a little bit more than that, but I thought a 5th round pick ultimately would be what they would have gotten for Zach Ertz from the Bills. But, I mean, who knows? Maybe something will still work out. Let's see. Adam Trumpman. Yeah, that was another tight end right there. I think that was a good pickup by the Saints as well. And the Saints, they certainly have an eye for getting tight ends late. I will say that. Let's see. Addersack says that he thought the Lions, 49ers, and Broncos would draft Fields. He said he was so ready to be mad when Detroit took him, but he was really happily surprised when they didn't pick him as well. I'll say this. When the 49ers went Trey Lance, I get it. I couldn't argue that as well. I mean, I trust Kyle Shanahan knows what he's doing. I wasn't going to argue that one. Obviously, Justin Fields is my guy, but, I studied more Ohio State than I saw Trey Lance, so I would have went Justin Fields, but I did not argue that at all. I can certainly understand and respect that. Now, with Detroit, I knew Detroit was not going to take a quarterback, or at least they shouldn't take a quarterback, because if Detroit drafted a quarterback, that quarterback was going to be in a position to fail, honestly. In my opinion, I'll put it back up there while I'm talking. But, yeah, I feel that on Detroit, if they would have taken a quarterback, that quarterback was going to end up being in a position to fail because they have nothing around him right now. I mean, I feel like you got to build an offensive line, which is what they seem to be doing right now. Build an offensive line first, get some wide receivers, and then get you a young quarterback. Build the team up a little bit before you go get a quarterback. They traded for Jared Goff. Might as well let him go out there and just, take up a season, maybe even 2 seasons if need be. And, hey, if he turns out to pan out and actually does something, then that works out in Detroit's favor. But if not, don't rush him out there. Now, when the Broncos passed on Justin Fields, I thought they made a mistake on that one, And so we'll see. Obviously they did trade for Teddy Bridgewater. And when they made that trade for Teddy Bridgewater, I was like, okay, maybe there's a chance they might not draft a quarterback. But me being with the Patriots, though, I needed for every team that was thinking about a quarterback to basically not go the quarterback route. But yeah, so ultimately, when I saw the Bears picked up Justin Fields, I was extremely happy for Justin Fields to see that he found a good home to go to. Let's see. Yeah, that was shocking that Denver passed on him. But, time will tell, because, Patrick Surtain, that's certainly one heck of a defensive back. And, he may very well be the best cornerback of that draft class. And we'll see how it works out for him. It's really going to come down to, obviously, Justin Fields' career and how that plays out. And obviously now Teddy Bridgewater and then Drew Lock, whoever ends up finishing the season. We know Teddy Bridgewater is going to start, but whoever ends up finishing the season, and if the Broncos are able to make the playoffs, that's going to really determine whether or not they made the right decision or not. Let's see. Mike says, Ertz 1 year left, huge money on the contract. Let's see. What college Fields is out of? Yeah, Fields went to Ohio State, and he was with Ohio State the past 2 years. Both of those years, they made it to the college football playoffs with him at quarterback. First year, he lost to Clemson, made a turnover where the receiver and himself was not on the same page in the end zone. That one hurt because I really wanted to beat Clemson. Clemson fans were really coming at me that year. I remember that. Really wanted Ohio State to win, but we fell just short. Then last year, beat Clemson only to run into probably the best Bama team that ever stepped foot on a football field, in my opinion. So, yeah, but definitely the Ohio State University. Let's see. Mike says, is Trevor really the best thing since breakfast, like everybody said? These are the same people that said that Andrew Luck was going to be a Hall of Famer. Was he a good quarterback? Yes. Was he a great quarterback? Yeah. Was he a lock for a Hall of Fame like everybody says? I wouldn't go that far. Trevor, I think Trevor is going to struggle this year, but I think that he will get better. But is he going to be the best quarterback of this draft class? I'm going to say no. I would take the field if you ask me if I'm going to take Trevor or the field. Now, is he as good as everybody thinks? That remains to be seen. He certainly has potential, but sometimes it's about being in the right situation and having a college coach like Urban Meyer. Will that hurt his development? And then, Jacksonville right now, where they're currently at as an organization, he's in a tough spot right now, but so is Zach Wilson. But I like Zach Wilson's odds a lot more from what I'm seeing so far, what I'm hearing so far. If this translates to the regular season, then, yeah, Zach Wilson may very well possibly end up being in that conversation for arguably best quarterback of the draft. And there's Mac Jones, he's in a perfect situation. I think that Mac Jones is going to be someone that, he's going to turn out first couple of years, be a good to / great quarterback. But then at some point, he's going to hit that threshold where he's going to master the game and then have a huge leap in terms of just being considered one of the top tier quarterbacks in the league, or at least that's the hope. Let's see. Mike says Bridgewater needs offensive line like most quarterbacks. Yeah. Every quarterback needs an offensive line. Patrick Mahomes showed that. It doesn't matter how great a quarterback you are. Every quarterback needs an offensive line. The sad part is, though, you look around the league, there's a lot of teams that their quarterbacks are going to take a lot of hits this upcoming season. I mean, a lot of hits because the offensive line, there's a lot of offensive linemen out there that's looking shaky. There's a lot of injuries already taking place. So, but yeah, Bridgewater, he's no exception. He certainly needs an offensive line to be able to go out there and produce, as well as some of the receivers for the Broncos to take that next leap in their development this upcoming season. And meanwhile, we are here, still a lot of time here in the fourth quarter, but yeah, that was a big stand there by Buffalo. And Buffalo clearly has the ball now. And fourth quarter, we'll see if Green Bay's going to be able to score at some point in this game. But Buffalo's have full control of this one. Let's see. Coach says the second half is underway. Illinois is driving. Okay. So, it's really good from what I'm seeing from their defense came to play. And it seems that their running game, if I'm not mistaken, their running game is what's the driving force right now in that one. Let's see. Mike says Darnold looking okay, but like Bridgewater, he will find the O-line is porous. And so, yeah, there's a lot of teams right now that, like the offensive line, especially for guys like Sam Darnold, who's never had an offensive line, throughout his entire career. So if he can have just even an average offensive line, that'd be an improvement there. Plus the weapons that he's got. Christian McCaffrey should help him get the ball out early, and that's going to be really important there. For Sam Darnold. Bridgewater, it's going to come down to obviously, Melvin Gordon in the backfield that can help, make life a lot easier. But the offensive line, ultimately, like you're saying, Mike, is going to be the biggest factor for a lot of these teams. Absolutely right. Let's see. Mike says lots of players on the Jags talking mess about the coach. Wonder if Minshew was part of that. Minshew, he just wanted to start. Like he's that guy that he just wants to play right now. That's what he wants to do. He just wants to go somewhere where he can play. I like if it's not in the NFL, he strikes me as the kind of guy that probably would look overseas. He just wants to be out there on the field. That's the impression I have of Gardner Minshew. And so him going to Philadelphia, that's going to be very interesting, especially if Jalen Hurts goes out there and the Eagles start off, say, like struggling the first 4 or 5 games of the season. Then, yeah, it's going to be very interesting down there. That quarterback room is going to be very intense. Let's see, Mike. Any pass rush you see from the Bills? I did see on that play that Jordan Love threw that bad pass, in the end zone that was picked off. A little bit of pass rush there. But, yeah, in terms of the Bills, the real test is going to be in the regular season, obviously. But they're going to be much improved this year on that pass rush for sure. And, but I've been mostly so engaged in these conversations here that, I haven't been able to too much pay attention to the defensive line for Buffalo. Let's see. RN Travel 98 Tennessee. Thank you so much for joining the stream. Glad to have you here. And let's see. He says, better luck next time, Pack. There you go. Yeah, the Packers really – they're ready for the regular season right now. Like we've yet to see it. Obviously, we're not going to see Aaron. Well, we have not seen Aaron Rodgers in the preseason, but obviously we understand that. But yeah, we're ready to see Green Bay in full strength in the regular season, as well as every other team in the regular season, and get this on the way. And so I'm definitely counting down until we have the kickoff for the Cowboys and Buccaneers to start off the season. And does anybody here give the Cowboys a chance to beat the Buccaneers in the opening week? I know it sounds crazy, but does anybody give the Cowboys a chance? Or if you had to put a percentage on it, I should say, what percentage do you give the Cowboys in terms of their ability to perhaps beat the Buccaneers? If you had to put a percentage on that for the Cowboys in that opener game, assuming Dak Prescott would be good to go, of course. Let's see. Coach says right now Illinois' running game is dominating the football game. Wasn't that the case last year as well when these two teams played? I know that the Fighting Illini, I think they beat them last year as well when it was against Nebraska. And I believe that this game was actually not supposed to be played in Illinois this year, but due to, I guess, the weather or something like that, they ended up playing in Illinois this game. Meanwhile, Jake Fromm, look at him making some guys miss and picks up the first down using his legs. Let's see. Mike says Donald is not a rusher. That is for sure. Yeah. You definitely don't want that to happen. If that happens, you're going to be in for a long day, and he's probably going to end up getting injured, and it's going to come down to the backup, PJ Walker down there. So, yeah, definitely don't want that. Let's see. So Buffalo looks like they're trying to get a drive going again. This time they're hitting the ball off. Gain of about 1 yard. And, yeah, these are the guys right now that's in the game that's fighting for those roster spots to determine who finishes out the rest of the 53-man roster, who's going to be on the practice squad, which I believe to be about 16 people this time, and who's going to end up on the streets trying to find somewhere else to go. Let's see. Coach Dante says score update is 23-9. Fighting Illini have scored again. Okay. And was that another rushing touchdown perhaps, or was it passing? Let's see. Okay, so that was actually a pass, okay, by Arthur. Okay, bet. Let's see. Coach Dante says he gives the Cowboys a chance against Tampa Bay, and the only reason it's championship ring night for Tampa Bay, and they may overlook the Cowboys, and the Cowboys got some great weapons as well. Bet. Yeah. I mean, if we're looking at the Cowboys, I'm really intrigued to see Zeke this upcoming season. Obviously they say he lost some weight, and we all know that the talk's been about Dak Prescott, as it should be, because the Cowboys, they have a ton of weapons out there that they can utilize when it comes to guys like, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup and company. And then if this offensive line can stay healthy, which is going to be very important, and Dak, he seems to be okay from what I'm seeing, a couple times in practice, but obviously he's got to stay healthy and be healthy. That's never really been a problem for him outside of last year. So assuming he's able to go out there and still be healthy and, he's able to shake off that injury, yeah, this would be a fun team to watch, especially when they have the ball on offense. The real question is going to be that defensive side of the ball, and how they're going to be able to hold up there. But, yeah, definitely you got to give them a chance. I mean, it's the NFL. You give everybody a chance. It's just a matter of whether or not they'll be able to do it. Let's see. Coach Dante says it was a passing touchdown. I want to play action. Okay, so it was a play action touchdown. Bet. Okay. So, yeah, so there you go, to fighting the line at that ground game, opening things up for the passing game to go ahead and get a touchdown. So, fighting the line, putting in work. Will Nebraska be able to respond? It seems like the Fighting the Illini's defense has been doing a pretty good job of shutting them down, aside from that one touchdown. So Fighting the Illini looking good right now. I'm sure Azashak has got to be proud of the Fighting the Illini. Let's see. Mike says, not sure Bills should have used the second-round pick on edge rusher Boogie Basham. His brother Tarad Basham is supposed to make the Cowboys D-line better. Not sold. And so, yeah, time will tell, when it comes to how these pass rushers are going to do. But obviously they come in with, pretty good ceiling, especially when it comes to, the second-round pick. I'm really interested in seeing how this is going to work out, honestly. But what helps a pass rush is going to be, can the secondary give them time to get to the quarterback and vice versa? What helps the defensive back is the pass rush being able to get there. But the Bills will have plenty of opportunity for these guys to get after the quarterback in plenty of these games, especially if they come out looking like they did today. They just had control of the game from start to finish. Let's see. Coach Dante says, but he hates the Dallas Cowboys, so he just hopes they lose every game. And I don't got to win it, and I don't got them winning that night, but I give them a chance because of the talent that they got on the offensive side of the ball. Ultimately, that's the same thing. That's the same thing. Now, if I was making the NFL schedule, I probably would have started off with the Bills versus the Buccaneers. I think that's the game I would have started the NFL season off with. But, the Cowboys, they're getting a lot of, time on the screen, Hard Knocks, opening off the NFL season. So we'll see what they go out there and do. If their offense can go out there and start clicking and make this a game, that'd be great. I just hope that it's a close game. But ultimately, I think I've got Tampa Bay winning that one as well. I think that's a smart pick. Let's see. Mike says that the Bills win over the Cowboys was the biggest game in 20 years for us, maybe. Probably no big deal for the Pats. And so, the Bills win over the Cowboys. That was a big game right there. No lie about that, especially seeing everything that was coming together for Buffalo last year. So, a couple years ago. So, yeah. And so, yeah, we've got less than 8 minutes to go here in the game. Right now, it's been all Buffalo in this game. Let's see. Let's see if Nebraska can make this a game. I'm interested in seeing if they can score and make this a game. Let's see. More running here for Green Bay. Gain of about 6 yards on that. Yeah, I think we'll see a lot more running plays here. Get this game over. Coaches are going to make their decisions in terms of who's going to fill out this roster and start preparing for the regular season. Let's see. Mike says that last year Bills gave up their first to get Stephon Amazing Diggs, which was a very good investment, I might add. Having only a second, we drafted AJ. Let's see, S.U. Essa pronounced. Okay, maybe. Okay, I'm always tough with these pronunciations, so forgive me there. He was really slow starting. Needs to make the DI. So yeah. I mean, hey, they've got high hopes for him. Obviously, when you take him in the second round, and I definitely get the frustrated when they come out the first year, and it's like, oh man, like we need you guys to step up now. But we'll see how it plans out. The Bills, they've invested a lot in that defensive line, so they're ultimately hoping that it pays off this upcoming year, and that's really going to be their X factor this upcoming season. That and the running game, I think. You can throw a tight end in there as well, but I think really the defensive line and the running back room are really the X factors for these Buffalo Bills. If they can get the most out of that, they'll be in a very good place. But either way, they're going to be a very good team. Let's see. Mike says that Nebraska fan base big enough to support an NFL team. Yeah, Nebraska certainly does have a tremendous and large fan base. Absolutely. I will say that. And so if this game was in Nebraska, I think the score would be a little different right now. But hey, I'm happy for the fight in the line, honestly, and the start that they've gotten off to. Meanwhile, the Packers are punting the ball again. All right, so that return game of a couple yards. Let's see. Bills really struggling to find D-line pressure, tons of investment. And you really want to see your investments pay off, especially in that defensive line. But maybe it'll be a situation where as the year goes on, maybe the defensive line will get better, or we'll see if they make some key additions, before the season starts. But yeah, I definitely understand that the defensive line getting pressure is really, really big, especially when we're looking at the playoffs and some of the top tier teams in the conference. You're going to have to be able to get after them and get some pressure without having to blitz too many guys to get that pressure. Mike says that this next 2 weeks will be crazy. All the transactions, like only 3 weeks preseason. Yeah, I tell you what, though, I'm so glad that there's only 3 weeks, because I don't get me wrong, absolutely love, seeing these games, but I'm ready for the regular season. And so at some point, I'm like, okay, I can only see so much of the starters sitting out before I'm ready for the regular season to kick in. But definitely. But yeah, only 3 preseasons. You say you don't like waiting 2 weeks rather than rather have Saturday NFL games. So yeah, that whole 2 weeks thing, I feel you there, having to wait 2 weeks before we see these guys again. I'm just thankful that next weekend we're going to have college football. I know I touched on the Georgia-Clemson game. Looking forward to streaming that one. But there's also the Alabama versus the University of Miami game. That's going to be another fun one there. Thursday, we're talking Ohio State, Minnesota. There's going to be a lot of teams out there that we're going to be able to watch in week 1 for college football. So that's what I'm really looking forward to a lot, honestly. Let's see. A King's Fortune 50 mil to star. And Jerry Hudges and Mario Addison got paid. Yes, and we love it when guys go out there and get paid for their work. That is for sure. As a matter of fact, let me pull up really quickly and look and see some of the college football games we have to look forward to next week. Let's see, week 1. I see Fresno State's taking care of business. They're currently up 28-0 in the second quarter. That's to be expected against Connecticut. Let's see. UCLA, Hawaii. Hawaii looks like they're about to punt the ball. That's early in that first quarter. All right. So, yeah, looking at some of the games for next year, as I mentioned, Ohio State, Minnesota, that's going to be September the 2nd. That's a Thursday, so I'm hoping to be able to stream that one. Just going to be a matter of if after my, eye doctor visit, if I'll be able to actually see the screen enough to stream that one. Let's see. Won't be doing any on Friday. But then some of the other ones that we're looking at, Saturday, Penn State, Wisconsin. I'm definitely going to be watching that game between Penn State and Wisconsin. Let's see what else. Another interesting one. Western Michigan and Michigan, I feel like the last time these two teams played it was closer than it should have been, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Indiana, Iowa, that's another good one. Alabama, Miami, West Virginia, Maryland. See, we're going to have some games next week. Of course, let's see, Oregon State, Purdue. Yeah, just looking at some of these games here, trying to point out just some of the bigger ones. Florida Atlantic, yeah, University of Florida should steamroll them. Georgia, Clemson. Oh, yeah, we've got some games next week for sure. So we may not have any preseason next week, but we'll have plenty of college football games for next week for sure. Yep, The Ohio State University is my favorite college team, whether we're talking college football, college basketball, absolutely. Meanwhile, these Buffalo tight ends are just dropping a lot of passes. This is not very encouraging right now for anybody trying to evaluate the that part of it. Let's see. I feel like I skipped a few. Let me go back here. Let's see. Mike says the coaches really don't make full use of the preseason for evaluation, but 3 weeks is more realistic. Yeah, I mean, the fact that they know they have that bye week after. I mean, obviously we got to see Josh Allen play today, so that's a huge reason why, because they know they have that bye. Obviously, coaches are afraid of losing their guy for the season. They are afraid of that, but yeah, I agree. They don't really fully utilize it for preseason evaluations the way that they probably should. Let's see. Mike says, "I like how Jerry Hudges is our big star, very average in my opinion, and Pat fans don't know much about him." Yeah, yeah. Well, I will say that. I will say that. Jerry Hudges. I haven't too much seen a lot of stuff from him. So if they say he's a star, then I have to take their word for it. But I feel you there. Meanwhile, what a deep pass here. Buffalo's trying to get some points, some more points here. But let's see. Mike says, don't use your eyes as an excuse. Put a Band-Aid on it. Hey, I feel, hey, hey, because last time I did that, I went and then I immediately tried to stream. I mean, not stream right after. I immediately went to put up some videos because, I was like, I got to get the news up, got to get the news up. But I had to blow up the font size on my screen, like extremely, like so much. Because being able to see anything that was remotely close to me was a struggle. And so you guys are definitely going to be seeing me in glasses towards the middle of next week, towards the end of that, probably for a couple days. Let's see. Mike says Coach Ryan forgot his first name. Spent every first on Clemson. It was it was annoying. Yeah, hey, it's something about these Clemson players. There's a lot of people that they absolutely. I mean, Clemson, they produce a lot of talent. I mean, because obviously that makes sense because they're always one of the top recruiting classes and stuff. But in terms of Clemson players, and some of these teams, there's been quite a few that I'm still waiting to see if they're going to pan out and stuff. What's that guy who was drafted, I think, by the Raiders, who was a defensive back, if I'm not mistaken. Guys like him. Meanwhile, we see Green Bay with the rush, and they gain about a good 3-4 yards. Yeah, they're really trying to melt this clock out there, guys. They just want to get this game over with. Actually, they're getting numbed, and so, or at least that's what they did last time. I hope that they just dial it and don't have to numb it this time, as numbing it takes forever for it to get back to normal, as opposed to dilating it's just a couple hours. So if it's dilated, then I'll be good to go. Let's see a bunch of Aaron Maben. Meanwhile, Green Bay hands it off. That's going to be a first down there on that carry. It's going to be a first down. Any of you guys been playing Madden 22 as of lately? Just throwing that out there. Meanwhile, yeah, that clock is still continuing to want to run here. And yeah, I think both teams have gotten all the evaluation they can get between all the practices, all the camps. So running plays to try to just keep this clock running at this point. But all smiles right now for Buffalo. And as for the guys in the field, they still got just 3 minutes to try to show the coaching staff enough to make them believe that these guys should remain on the roster. And so, yeah, another running play. This time for a loss of some yards here. That is actually a screenplay. All right, we're getting ready to come upon the 2-minute warning mark here. I know there's going to be a bit of a gap between the next, before the next set of games and stuff start to play. So we'll definitely have some time between that. Oh, man, I see the fight in the line now. They have scored again. So, yeah, the fight in the line now, pouring it on Nebraska right now, currently 30-9. So, I mean, maybe the fight in the line, maybe all they really needed was a coaching change. But, yeah, this does not bode well right now for Martinez and Nebraska Cornhuskers. Let's see. What would I say is the Pats' biggest roster hole? I would have to say there's quite a few, but I would say probably the wide receiver position. They don't have a number one wide receiver. Like, yes, they made some improvements. They signed some guys, that's definitely going to help the Patriots be decent at the wide receiver position. It's going to be much improved from last year. But anytime you go from like 0, you're going to improve. Not saying that last year was 0. Last year was probably more like 22. So I say if from 0 to 100, if last year we were at 22, we're probably at about a 56, 59 this season right now. But we're still not where we need to be, where if we had a tier 1 wide receiver, then probably that'll put us in the 70s or something like that. But yeah, they definitely need to figure out what's going to happen with N'Keal Harry. Can he contribute to the team? I know that right now Pat fans are annoyed with N'Keal Harry, want to trade him. But if he's still on the roster, if he's still healthy, does he still have potential? And can the Patriots tap into that potential? Or are we better off just trading him? But definitely wide receiver at the top. Like, we've got a ton of wide receivers that can fill out the rest of the roster, but we don't have a wide receiver 1 right now. We're hoping that Kendrick Bourne can be that, or Nelson Aguilar, but we don't have a wide receiver 1 right now. That is perhaps the biggest hole right now for that Pats team. Other than that, perhaps the interior of the defensive line, that's one to keep an eye out for. I know we drafted Christian Bazemore, so I'm going to be interested in seeing how that's going to work out. But we got to be able to stop that run on the inside for sure. That's definitely an area that I'm going to be watching for the Pats this upcoming season. So those are the two that really stand out the most to me. Let's see. Mike says, I think the Ravens were flooded with wide receiver talent. That is true. But knowing the Patriots, we might end up picking up. I think we just recently waived Marvin Hall, if I'm not mistaken, at wide receiver. And so we'll probably pick up another receiver who's been with us, in the past, like we always do for practice squad purposes, and then let him go a little bit afterwards. But there you go. Elderman, he ended up retiring. From my understanding, he just had way too many injuries, and that injuries was basically going to put him out for like almost the entire year, if not the entire year this year. So ultimately, he had really little choice but to go ahead and step away from the game. The fact that Tampa Bay wanted him, it seemed, well, obviously, Tom Brady wants you. So if Tom Brady wants you, that means Tampa wants you. but he opted to rather just go ahead and retire than to team up with Tampa. Have a lot of respect for Julian Edelman and what he was able to, for him to want to retire a Patriot. That was really big right there. He could have did like, everybody else who want to join Tampa. But, he showed me that he's a true Patriot even without Brady. So that was really big right there. But, yeah, the Patriots, they need height at wide receiver. They need some guys that can go up there and win some jump balls. Those short receivers, I get it. They've worked for Bill Belichick in the past, but we really need to find a way to be able to get some big play receivers that can have some height to them, or either some speed as well. So please get some speed. The need for speed is so real right now for the Patriots. So at that wide receiver position. Okay, so we've got the Packers about to go for it here. 4th and 19. Okay, so there goes that completion there. Let's see. One second. But, yeah, you have to imagine here that Buffalo's going to go ahead and run out this clock. Let's see. Duke Williams, certainly an option. Yes, now I can see Bill looking into this now. If he does get cut, I can see Bill looking into that. No doubt about that. We just got to beat teams like Miami for him. But, yeah, definitely teams in the division are certainly going to be keeping their eyes out should the Bills let him go. But, I mean, you have to think the Bills probably wouldn't want to just let him go. If anything, maybe a trade or something like that if it came down to it. But obviously a lot of guys are going to be let go. So we will see where these organizations value these guys here. But, yes, if the Bills go ahead and take a knee, let's see. Yeah, definitely height is going to be something that the Patriots can really utilize for sure, especially when we get closer to the goal line. It helps to be able to have a receiver that you can throw a jump ball situation to. I mean, the last time we had a receiver like that, you have to go back to the Randy Moss era, and that's going far too back for my liking. So, but what a performance here by the Buffalo Bills as they're going to come away with the victory here. They won 19-0. Let's see. Fromm looked decent. He did look decent out there. He made the right plays when he needed to. He had a couple of drops that didn't bode well for him. I think, I think David Webb gets cut. I think they might hold on to Fromm here. That's just what I'm thinking, that they'll just go ahead and cut Webb. But, yeah, I think they'll keep Jake Fromm. Hey, sometimes when a guy has a drop like that, they just ultimately fall apart. Their confidence gets shattered, and then you always try to overcompensate for that. But especially in the playoffs, if you let your team down like that, that's hard to come back from. That's really hard to come back from. Absolutely. Absolutely. But there we go. We have this game in the books, guys. The Buffalo Bills were able to win this game 19-0. Jordan Love started the game for the Packers. He was 12 of 18, 149 yards and an interception. Josh Allen, he was absolutely superb in his time out there, 20 of 26 and 2 touchdowns for 194 yards as well. He's in full fantasy football mode already, guys. You're definitely, if you get a chance to get a Josh Allen, definitely by all means do so. Believe me, you won't regret it in fantasy football. So definitely do consider that. But yeah, guys, with this game now in the books, definitely going to go ahead and end the stream here. But really appreciate you guys so much for coming through. It's been a great stream. Make sure if you haven't already that you do subscribe to the channel. It's the best way to stay up to date with future streams and stuff. I know I'll be streaming another game for sure tomorrow. We'll see if any more streams pop up. But definitely appreciate you guys so much for your support and look forward to seeing you guys next time. Let's see. Shaq says that Illinois is actually winning. Nebraska murdered us last year, so I'm surprised. And so, hey, the Fighting Illini, they definitely are coming out there and they are really bringing it. I believe the score is like 30 to 9 or something like that. So yeah, they're definitely bringing it. That is for sure. But yeah, appreciate you guys for coming through for the stream, and see you guys next time. As definitely do stay alert though for when I do put up my alerts for these streams that will be coming through though. You guys are not going to want to miss that for sure. But yeah, see you guys next time.